I've never seen you quit a food or a drink. Like, you rarely just put it down like, no, this isn't happening. Like, I've seen you dissatisfied at a number of different food and beverage options, but you seem to just kind of...
There's a few deal breakers that I have. Horseradish is a deal breaker.
But you're not going to start horseradish. I'm talking about starting and then giving up.
No, if I take like one bite and the sandwich has horseradish
it's like
on
surprise
it,
horseradish.
I'm like, this isn't happening.
Yeah.
I need an alternate.
I had a deal breaker broccoli last week. Shannon had made some sort of like broccoli in the oven.
Deal breaker broccoli.
She followed a recipe that involved like tossing broccoli in a number of stuff and then roasting it.
Okay.
One of the things that it recommended tossing it in was mayonnaise. And it was horrible.
Like baked mayonnaise? I guess you have that in like casseroles.
It was
maybe?
bad. It was bad.
I've never tossed broccoli in mayonnaise and then baked it.
She said she didn't want to tell me for the longest time. I was like, we both didn't like it. You can tell me. Like, it's fine.
Oh, so you had it without knowing what it was?
Yeah.
Just objectively did not
like
it.
She's like, I followed a recipe. I'm like, okay, that doesn't change anything. If anything, that means it's not your fault.
Rachel's parents have a funny story from when they first got married. Rachel's dad had a sauce like recipe, or a chili. It was a chili recipe. And he was like telling her over the phone the ingredients, and he jokingly said, no, it wasn't. Sorry, I'm mixing this up. It wasn't chili. It was like a marinara sauce, but he told her one of the ingredients was chili powder. So she made like a lasagna or something like that had like chili powder in the sauce. And he was like, I was joking, but she just took it literally.
Well, that's not enough of a joke. I'm with her on that one. If you're going to joke,
he has a bit of a deadpan humor.
Well, that's not far enough. Like, I could feasibly think about how chili powder could be a marinara sauce, maybe.
Yeah, it's not like outside the realm of possibility.
But if you want them to know it's a joke, you need to go like wasabi or something like that. Something totally out of the left field.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I would have done it. I'd be like, okay, Dad.
Yeah.
If you say so.
And they like had guests over too and like served. It was a whole thing. Oh goodness. Anyway. Yeah, we ready?
Yeah, man, I'm ready. We've got the recording happening. Your thing is on, even though I did what's new last week, so we're awake.
We're plugged in.
We got the proper signage.
Yep. Missing that light though.
We're missing one light, yeah.
Above your head. You don't have a blue flame shooting out of your head like I do. It's all good. It's all good. All right. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 140 of the Goulet Pencast, where fountain pens are still a thing. I am Brian Goulet.
I am Drew Brown.
And we are here from Goulet Pens to deliver this casual and informal, tangential and extraneous, superfluous and extemporaneous fountain pen show, where we talk about what's going on at the Goulet Pen Company and in our fountain pen lives. Did you memorize that last week? Because it looked like you were reciting it from memory.
I was, but it was not as fast as what you just did.
Well, I glanced at it.
Yeah,
I've said it 138 times at this point or whatever. But yeah.
Since episode 1. No, since 2.
Was it 2 that I came up with that? But I've missed a couple episodes here and there.
So I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Good call. Yeah.
Anyway, in today's show, we're going to be talking about Taylor Swift's fountain pen. Of course, we mentioned that last week, but we got more to talk about. Which customized pen that we would want to see made from an existing model. So if we can modify it somehow. Thoughts on making a true Goulet pen again. Ink and pen pairings that we've found that make us want to use them more often. And then something we want to see in fountain pens that hasn't been done yet. And then we'll spotlight the LAMY Dialog CC because I finally found my missing dialogue.
I'm excited about this show, Brian.
Yes.
It seems exciting.
A lot of hypotheticals.
Yeah.
In today's. So we're going to be dreaming.
I hope we came up with decent answers.
I hope so too.
Because really, it's all going to depend on that.
One or two of them I didn't, but it was the ones where I wasn't the primary. So it's all good. Anyway, I'm back. Janaea.
Welcome back.
Yes. Janaea did a great job last week.
She did.
It was very enjoyable getting to be a spectator and just like watch it happen. It was very fun. And then, we'll start it off with some feedback.
Yes. From my friend Heather. She writes in and says, as someone who cannot write cursive and has mediocre handwriting in print, but loves fountain pens, I feel seen. Thank you, because we talked about how you do not need to let any preconceived notion of your own handwriting affect whether or not you buy and or enjoy a fountain pen. Don't do it. And I love that Heather mentioned this because I know for a fact that Heather is a huge fountain pen nerd. Huge fountain pen nerd. Loves herself some fountain pens. And there you go. So I appreciate that, Heather. Thank you for your vulnerability. If anybody else is out there, you're seen too. We see you. As long as you are loving fountain pens, you are part of this.
Yes.
And we are here for it and for you. So,
and practice makes progress too.
Yeah.
Just the more you write,
you're not going to get worse.
Your handwriting will get somewhat better.
You might, yeah.
I mean, as you age, generally,
yes,
your handwriting may decline in the long term, but everything else will decline too. So it'll just be part of the package.
It'll always get better because it'll be just written with more and more love.
There you go.
Yes. And then we've got another nugget of comment from Carrie Bean. And they say, Drew, I can't believe you didn't pick the special brown Safari with its little clip accessories.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely prefer the matte Safaris to the glossy ones and really only like the ones with colored/coated clips instead of the plain silver ones. Okay. Carrie, yes. If I'm being honest,
you got your lime brown one back there.
I keep this here for a reason because it is absolutely my favorite. It says brown right there on the cap. Like it's got a little. It's the brown Safari. Yeah, definitely my favorite. Also the Starbucks one that they sold in China a couple years ago with the green one. That's an amazing. There's a new one coming out that's blue with rose gold clip. That's exclusive. Another place overseas. If I was including overseas fountain pens, Safaris like this one, yeah, that list would be very different. It probably wouldn't include any of the ones we were able to sell in the States. But
did you stick just the ones that like we've carried at some point, or like would be
the ones on our blog?
Yeah, fair enough.
We picked like favorite current edition and then favorite past limited.
Yeah, right.
So 100% brown. But there are a lot of them, and I'm not going to talk about that because it makes me upset and jealous. So we're not going to go there. Anyway,
they did a Pikachu one that was pretty rad.
Yeah, they have a bunch of great ones. It's just not fair at all. But and I also wanted to say thank you, everybody, for sharing your fountain pen deal breakers with us. Janae and I talked about things that we run into in the fountain pen world that just shut us down hard. And there were several others out there as well. So thank you for that.
I loved how opposite you both were on that.
Yeah.
Like extra fine nibs, and she wants big pens.
Yes. Yeah, and you and I too. Like you hate a tiny little scratchy nib.
I was definitely more in Janae's camp.
Yeah, 100%. So someone commented, I've never heard anybody talk about aerodynamics as a pro in terms of fountain pens. So thank you, Janae. Because she was like, this was just like more aerodynamic. I like that.
Sure, yeah. In case you're like running with your pen, or you got to toss it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So thank you for that. And also thank you for all the kind words about Janaea. It was really, really delightful to read. I'm sure it meant a lot to her, and just, another example of how welcoming and kind our community is. So she'll definitely be back. We will always, have a good amount of people here that can jump in. We're all a bunch of passionate pen nerds like you, I'm guessing. So thank you for your kind words.
Very cool. All right. Let's see here. eJourneys says, thank you for the Pangram shout out. Great hosting, Janaea. I love lorem ipsum. I was cracking up at that whole section about lorem ipsum.
I gave this comment to you because eJourneys here is providing us with like a very Brian-style deep dive here that I thought you would appreciate.
Well, that's great. All right, then I will read it here. I loved lorem ipsum, which I used decades ago during my desktop publishing days. To add to what a couple of others have posted here, the passage is attributed to an unknown typesetter in the 15th century whose thought by Richard McClintock, a Latin scholar from Hampton-Sydney College, which is not too far from we are actually, to have scrambled parts of Cicero's Definius Bonorum et Malorum for use in a type specimen book, according to the lorem ipsum generator. In particular, the garbled words of lorem ipsum bear an unmistakable resemblance to sections 1.10.32 through 3.3 of Cicero's work, with the most notable passage excerpted below. And then it's just a whole bunch of Latin, which I won't read because it'll take me forever. A 1914 English translation by Harris Rackham. This is just so this
is the translation of the Latin.
Nor is there anyone who loves or pursues or desires to obtain pain of itself, because it is pain, but occasionally circumstances occur in which toil and pain can procure him some great pleasure. That's like messing with my head. I don't understand that.
I don't know, for whatever.
I don't know if that's like very wise or just total nonsense.
Yeah, I'm like, honestly, it reads like something that someone, the immediate thing, I don't know if anybody's ever seen Deadwood, but there's a preacher in Deadwood that just kind of like, he quotes Bible verses all the time, but repeatedly and inexplicably, and it just, I don't know, for whatever reason, I heard his voice and his tone when you read this.
Interesting.
This kind of means nothing. I don't know.
I think it is kind of nonsense. I know the lorem ipsum thing from our early Goulet days because it is a common thing that they use in websites.
Yeah.
When they're just like laying out like the wireframe for a website, they'll put a bunch of lorem ipsum nonsense in there, and then you replace it with your actual web copy.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that
This quote so reminded me of Michael Scott's "Never do anything to anybody for any reason, ever."
that's right.
Like,
It just goes on and on and on. Oh, that's so good. It reminds me too. This is a bit of a diversion, but well, it gets into the what's happening stuff. So I'll put a pin in that.
Okay.
It relates to some nonsensical verbiage that my brother-in-law and I had in our planning of our vacation. And I'll have to share some of that because it
okay.
It escalated quite a bit.
Okay. Don't forget.
Yeah, I won't forget.
Okay.
I might forget. Anyway.
I'll try to remind you.
Okay.
Blind leading the blind.
You might forget.
Yep.
Okay. That's all we got for feedback. Let's talk about some new stuff. All right. We have some new things, which I was out last week. So I'm still kind of getting up to speed. It's like mid-Tuesday afternoon as we're recording this. And it's been a lot to catch up on because a lot of things happen around here when you're gone. Okay. So we have the Pelikan M1000 Renaissance Brown. That is a limited edition pen. We ordered some broads, but I think we got shorted on them.
Yeah.
So anybody who's looking for broads, I don't know when they'll come in, but we do have some of the other nib sizes. Pretty cool looking pen. M1000, love that nib. It is one of my favorite nibs. It's kind of like how Sailor, you have the King of Pens nib that just like hits different than all the other nibs. It's kind of the same thing with Pelikan. Like I have M600s, 800s. They're nice nibs, but the M1000 is like a totally different writing experience.
And the engraving is phenomenal.
It's
The
huge.
imprint, yeah.
It's just impressive. Yeah. It's a big pen though, so it's not for everybody. But this pen's 856. There aren't a lot of versions of the M1000 that come out. So for me, I waited years to get an M1000 until there was something that came out that was special. Because for a while it was just like the black and like the green stripe, which is fine. But when they do interesting colors, that's an opportunity to take a look at a Grail pen like this. So if brown happens to be your color, maybe take a look at this one. Okay, we also have, it's 856 by the way for that pen, Wearingeul Hound of the Baskervilles. This is a 30 mil ink from Wearingeul, $22. Dark red ink with green sheen. This is a cool looking ink.
Yeah.
I think it looks really good, very saturated in color. Wearingeul's got some winners.
They do. They've been coming out with some good ones recently.
Yeah, they've been doing good. So we got that one, and then we got Wearingeul From the Earth to the Moon, 30 mil ink as well. Same price, $22. There's a gray blue with blue glitter in it. So, I mean, blue on blue. Where can you go wrong with that? As far as
we'll see.
We'll see indeed.
I don't know which one do you think will sell better.
Oh boy, pitting these two against each other.
There's a lot of blues out there.
Oh man, but dark reds are
pretty
popular too.
They are.
With the green sheen though, I don't know. The dark red purists out there probably aren't going to dig the green sheen quite as much. So I'm going to go with the blue probably as the more universal favorite.
All right, well I'll go with the Hound then. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll come back. We'll come back to it.
What time frame are we trying to go on here? We're
until the blue gets discontinued, I guess.
Until the red is clearly the winner.
No, again, I'll be Michael Scott and just like we'll call the game as soon as I'm ahead.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we'll see how that.
That's the theme of today.
One thing related again to because I just spent a week with my in-laws. We've talked about Malifaux before, so we've actually started keeping a list of not just Malifaux, but internal kind of family jokes and expressions and stuff that just, it was at some point where it was just like, Rachel, we've been together a really long time. We have so many things. It was like one line from a TV show we watched 20 years ago that we now say like almost daily.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, we have a lot of those. We should like write them all down. And I've written them down. We got at least probably 80 or 100 of them at this point. But one that we have picked up now from my brother-in-law is he says, when you say like, we'll see how it goes or we'll see what happens. He says, we'll see what finds out.
Oh.
And he just says it so much now. Both him and his wife just say it. and it's totally normal. We'll see what finds out.
Oh,
And it's like, that doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? But it's one of those things, Malfour. So Joseph picked it up. So now it's like gotten its way into our house.
I don't want it.
You don't want that?
No, you can keep it.
It doesn't hit you right?
No, makes me feel uncomfortable.
Well, you just got to hear it a few more times, and then it'll just flow in. And
My
just
wife
be,
won't let me
know.
say, how come? She just doesn't like, she's like, that doesn't make any sense. How come what? If you just reply with, how come? She's like, that's not a sentence.
I mean, it's a abbreviated sentence.
She don't like it.
That's like saying, what's up? Or why not? You know, how come? That makes sense to me.
I can understand both sides. Like, it's not, I think those other sentences are a little bit
you
more.
have to understand both sides.
I know. Like, at this point, I'm like, no, she doesn't bite my head off.
You
or
pick your
anything,
battles, you know.
Yeah. I'm like it makes sense, but also she's way more irritated than she needs to be about it. But
We all have our things.
yeah, I do.
We definitely,
I definitely do.
We have our things. Anyway, that's all I got for new stuff.
I've got some
What
stuff.
about you?
We've got 2 new ST DuPont pens. We were talking about this earlier today because one actually sold out super fast. So I'm sorry about that. We'll definitely get some more for sure if we can. But we've got 2 more Line D large pens, both in La Flemme and La Mer. And these are inspired by water and fire, respectively. So, wait, no, not respectively. Irrespectively, because... Reversibly, whatever that is. La Mer is the bluey, watery one. And then La Flemme is the fiery red and black one with black trim. So 2 very different looking pens for sure. But they both have something in common in that they are lacquered and then coated in an ombre and then lacquered again. So... they have a very unique look to them. They're definitely laying, hard onto the ombre vibe, which looks great.
Oh, yeah.
I think you should get both of them. I don't think one can exist without the other. If you just get one, you're throwing off the yang to your yin, and that just shouldn't happen. So buy them both for $780 a piece.
If we have them in stock.
Yeah. It's $780 if you buy them separately, and if you buy them both together, it's just that, but twice.
There you go. Why buy one when you can have 2 at twice the price?
Exactly. Thank you.
That's a line from Contact.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Do you remember that movie?
Of course, I saw it recently. What was that in reference to?
So when they somebody sabotaged the first machine or whatever, the time travel machine, they had a secret second one that they built.
Yes.
And they said, the government policy is why buy one when you can have 2 at twice the price.
Nice.
That's always stuck with me. I don't know why.
That's so odd.
So
yeah,
random.
I saw that last year.
I need to see that movie again. I have not seen it since it came out.
So much better the second time. Because I saw it when I was like in middle school or something.
Yeah,
like that.
same,
like when it was new, like 97, 98.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So good now.
It holds up.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Super good.
I'll watch it again.
And it was based off a book, fiction written by Carl Sagan.
That is even better.
Yeah.
Okay. Contact. We'll make it happen.
There we go. And then a Benu Euphoria, a new Benu Euphoria. This is called Honey Pals, and it is one of their hand-painted versions, and it involves a very familiar yellow bear and his pig friend.
How about that?
Yeah, that's right. You can buy one of these for $280. It is a lovely pen. These hand-painted pens have a... I feel like they have a different look to them for sure, but I don't know. These are not inner painted, are they? Or are they outer painted?
They're outer painted, but then they're coated over.
Yeah,
I believe
they have like whatever coating they have. It makes me feel like they have a different feel to them, but maybe I'm just imagining that.
Probably it's not like the same as the resin that's used because they make the pen with a normal resin. Then they paint over top of it.
It feels like it has a softness to it that the other ones don't have.
It's probably more of like a lacquer or something like that. Yeah.
All right, maybe that's not my imagination. Either way, if you're after a look or a feel, I think this is going to make you happy because the design is just beautiful.
Yes,
and the green and white kind of flowiness to the resin, I think, is unique and not something I'd seen with Benu.
It features Winifred and Piggy.
Winifred and Piggy, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, well, you'll enjoy those. You'll know them if you see them.
There you go.
That's it for new stuff.
Awesome. Let's do some company updates.
Okay.
All right, don't have a ton on here. We do have a video that was put out this week, which is...
It was.
The one that we just talked about it in the last meeting we had.
I want to
overlooked
share
fountain
with
pen
you
brands.
my overlooked brands.
That's the one. We record these in batches, and sometimes we change the order that we publish them.
Also, we record some of them like the previous month. So
Yes,
it takes us a bit.
That does happen. So anyway, but that's what's out. So you can go check that one out because Drew gives some love to some brands that maybe don't always get the love so much or just don't get the spotlight.
Perhaps.
Not ones that people are hating on.
No.
But just like more people should know about this. And then we we will have had, by the time this publishes, a summer solstice party because that is happening.
Here in the office.
We have Juneteenth. We're closed on Wednesday, but that will have already happened, so I'm not giving you anything new. But then we're also internally hosting a summer solstice party, and we'll be doing something. I forget what.
We're going to eat. We're going to have lunch. We're going to have some cornhole outside.
We'll be
for anybody that wants to go outside.
We'll be sweating. It's going to be like 90-something degrees
I will
Fahrenheit
spectate
here.
from indoors, I believe.
I'm going to go outside and sweat. I'm just going to be part of the crew. And I'll just be sweaty and gross for the whole rest of the day because that's how it
I will be
goes.
cheering you on with gusto.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. I'll need it because I'm not that great at cornhole.
Oh, neither am I. I'm terrible.
Yeah.
We'll get into
some
that
really
later.
good cornhole players.
Sam's pretty darn good, isn't
Sam's
he?
good. Trevor's really good.
Oh.
I played against Bonnie's pretty good. I played against all of them, and I was like clearly the weakest link.
So
in
the
whole
operations
thing.
people, they've got like some.
Ops team gets some cornhole.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
They know
All
what
right.
they're doing. They're not messing around.
All right, we need to step it up. What's something we can beat them in?
I don't know. Recording videos.
There we go.
Talking continuously. I don't know. We'll figure something out. Okay, that's it for company updates. Let's get into Q&A.
Why not? Okay, well, despite the fact that Janae and I did talk about the Taylor Swift pen,
Yes.
I did ask for questions on Instagram late last week on Friday, and there were multiple questions still about Taylor Swift's fountain pen. Yes, so
one of the like most popular music celebrity icon business moguls comes out with a fountain pen, and that's notable.
Yes, indeed. So
I literally learned about this once I got back, and you all told me. You were like, "Yeah, Taylor Swift came out with a pen." I was like, "Okay, that's a whole thing." So I had to like quickly get up to speed because I was unplugged last week.
didn't see it coming.
Did not see it coming at all.
No, for sure.
How would you? I don't know.
Yeah. So two examples of some questions here, which hit on different vibes, which I think are good things for us to consider covering.
Okay.
Let's see. Goretting, I'm going to say, asks, any chance you'll review the fountain pen in Taylor Swift's merch store? So you can answer that.
Okay.
And then we can also say, from Lel MC, asks us, next Taylor Swift pen, design thoughts? Goulet exclusive, of course.
That would be
It
great.
would break our website.
Taylor, if you're watching, or if anybody from your merch team is watching, reach out to us.
We'd be fine with that.
We got some ideas.
Yes, we would be okay. So let's talk about, will we review it? And then let's talk about what would we do if we had some influence there.
Good question. Will we review it? Well, they're sold out right now.
Yeah.
So we literally can't get a hold of them. I guess, I don't know, you could get them secondhand or whatever, but I don't know. I did watch some reviews that other people had.
Yeah, there are some out there.
Yeah. So I feel confident enough to speak on my general impression of it. I don't have it in hand, but I can imagine what it's like to write with such a pen. I don't know. We typically don't review pens that we don't know a lot about or that we don't carry just because we generally don't know a lot about them.
Maybe we should.
Also, it's like we already have so many pens to talk
it's
about
like,
and
if
review.
we talk about a pen we don't carry, that means we're not talking about a pen that we do carry.
This was a thing from like the first month of Goulet Pens. I was creating literally content every single day. And I was like, hey, Rachel, I want to review this thing. And she's like, why would you review this random thing when we have our stuff that we haven't even talked about yet? And I'm like, that makes sense.
It makes me wonder, like,
and then we just like literally never ran out of stuff that we carry to talk about.
If we grabbed like a Mont Blanc to review, like what would Pilot say? Like, okay, so they're talking about that and not something that they can sell. Great.
We make whatever content we want.
Of
Nobody's
course.
like dictating that.
No,
we
no
don't
one
get
has
paid
ever
to
done
do
that.
any of it or anything like that. But it's just more, part of what I think we add value is we have the ability to ask questions to our suppliers and get more detailed information.
We would have no support with Mont Blanc.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But that's fine. Other bloggers do that, and people do videos and stuff like that.
We don't. There's plenty out there.
Done. Yeah. But anyway, so it would be a little bit of a outside the norm thing for us, but we have like in more casual settings, like in previous videos, like the Right Nows or some of the Q&A or the Pencast style, we've talked about like the Rotring core, and we've like very casually. We're not going to do a standalone video on something like that, but if we got one in our hands, sure, we'll show it and give some impression.
We never did show that Amazon pen we bought. Remember that?
Did we ever get that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we have one.
We do?
It was like right when Amazon launched
like the Amazon Basic pen or whatever it is?
Yeah, we have one.
I don't know that I ever saw it.
It's what you'd expect.
It's probably garbage. Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, will we review it? I mean, if we can get one in our hands, I know Janae is interested in getting one. She's signed up for the list when it comes back in. I might too as well, because it just seems, I don't know, it seems like an interesting, notable thing to have.
Yeah.
Like in my personal collection, I have some Mont Blancs, like the 149, and I have some other stuff. I have some vintage Esterbrookes. And
you have weirder
51.
things than a Taylor Swift pen in your collection.
I have definitely some weird stuff that we've shown here before. To me, and it's like not a big investment. It's I think it's $15 for the pen. So I don't know. I'd be interested in trying it out, but I don't have it yet, so I can't speak to it from personal experience. But it looks to me, as probably anybody who's familiar with most fountain pens, it's not like she designed this pen from scratch kind of a thing. It's clearly, a pen that was kind of, white labeled. It was made from somebody already pretty much making that pen. And then she branded it, and put her design elements on it.
There's a lot of stuff like that in her merch store. I saw
of course. That's, I mean, that's literally every music artist when they sell t-shirts and bumper stickers and like all that stuff. They're getting somebody else to make that stuff, and they're branding it. That's actually a huge, especially in today's climate, like going on tour and then selling merch is pretty much how musicians make any money at all, because streaming provides them nothing. It's actually it's a whole thing.
Oh yeah, I've heard.
It's a whole thing. Yeah. But anyway, so I view it as that, like if you like a music artist, when you buy their merch, you're literally like supporting them.
Yeah.
That's how I view it. So I think for that respect, it's like, cool. I think it fits her vibe. It doesn't feel inauthentic to me, because I know she's a writer. She's a songwriter. That's like really a lot of what she's known for. So like her whole like from the desk of Taylor, collection kind of thing kind of makes sense to me. Do I expect her to like have all that stuff on her desk and be writing with it every day? No,
probably not.
Real. But it's different.
For as much as she gets on that jet, the fountain pen might be pretty troublesome for her.
I mean, it's a cartridge converter pen. I usually don't have a problem with those, but does she write with a fountain pen? I don't even know. I don't know. But I just thought it was interesting that she even did a fountain pen. Like why even do that unless it's just like romantic? So I'd be very curious. I tried to do some research on it, but oh my gosh, when you start typing in stuff about Taylor Swift, I so quickly fell down a rabbit hole. I was like, get me out of here. I don't know where I am. I'm lost in so much. I don't even know what's going on. So anyway, I think it's very intriguing. But yeah, so not a custom pen, obviously some kind of like Chinese made branded thing. I thought the branding was fairly tasteful. It didn't, what I would expect from somebody who's a celebrity selling merch for something like that would be to have like an kind of unreasonable markup. Like take a pen like that you can find, I don't know, I think there's comparable people have found it for like maybe $5 or something on like AliExpress or something like that. So, okay, that's fine. You're essentially getting kind of more of a wholesale price buying a place like an AliExpress, but she branded it, which has value to it for sure, and packaging and stuff like that, and sold it for $15. I was like, that to me feels like a very fair and reasonable markup for what she's providing, especially with a brand as strong as hers. She could have easily sold that for like $80 and probably would have still sold out. I thought it was cool that she kept it pretty accessible.
I agree. I've been given Instagram ads of like fountain pens that are very clearly Jinhao's that someone is trying to sell for like $80.
Oh yeah.
Like it's like, so
oh, yeah.
People do it.
Oh, it's a thing.
It's definitely out there. So yeah, I agree. Like that's the fact that she didn't choose to do that.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
I mean, who knows? Did she personally select that thing? I doubt it. She's probably got a lot else on her mind. So I have like a heavy dose of like perspective and moderation of expectations. Like, I don't think she was like sitting there nights and weekends dreaming up the details of what a fountain pen should be. No, she's not thinking about that. It was probably somebody like on her team that was sourcing out some merch, probably got a variety of pens from an AliExpress type source and kind of picked what they liked and found something that kind of worked. That to me would make sense. So with that though, I tried to watch some reviews. I found one from somebody called Julia here, which I have no affiliation. I just thought her video was, fairly comprehensive, and it was one of the first one I found and clicked on, and it was informative to me. And I liked her take on it. She had kind of a reasonable take about it. Apparently she's like a pen reviewer, like, planner, blogger, like that type of stuff. So somebody who's like into fountain pens that also did that. So I'm sure there's other reviews too. I know you watched some that were
I watched one from Fountain Pen,
a little harsher,
Fountain Pen News, who's a frequent commenter on the Pencast.
Okay.
So yeah, overall, I don't think people were impressed by the quality, but I think that it's
$15. You know?
Yeah, I think the real
you
kind of yay or nay is this good for the community, and is this good for spreading the joy of fountain pens? So
that is the question.
That is the question. Like, is it better to get a crap ton of fountain pens out there and then let people? Is this okay to gauge interest at least, or is it so subpar that it would discourage people? Like, so that's the thing. So from what I'm seeing, it's like I don't think it's going to actively discourage anybody, but there were probably, better options. Like if you could replace that pen with a different pen, man, like you could really change some opinions.
I mean,
create new ones.
It opens up a whole conversation. We're sitting here talking about
That's
it.
right.
And it's probably got a lot of people looking at a fountain pen who never would have thought about it otherwise.
Hopefully.
So almost no matter what the pen is actually like, just the exposure, I view that as good for the fountain pen.
As long as they can write with it, I think that's a win.
Yeah.
If it writes and they can figure out how to ink it up, they're writing with a fountain pen when they would possibly never have been.
Yeah. I view that as a good thing. Again, I don't have the pens myself. I don't know anything about them really.
I don't think it's harming anybody. I don't think it's going to cause any like damage physically.
No. Again, if it was like severely overpriced,
yeah,
where people felt like almost swindled because it was so out of whack, I think it's priced fairly for what you should expect of a pen like that. And then, I thought it was pretty tastefully marketed and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm on board as an outside observer. It might feel different if I get it in my hands, but I mean, I have a lot of very inexpensive pens, and it's just, I have a different mindset when I'm holding a $15 pen than I do with other pens.
Because it's not really a $15 pen. It's like a $5 pen that you needed to print and distribute and package, and then it becomes a $15 pen. But what you're actually writing with, it's not like, so you need to take that into account. Like what you're holding and what you're putting to paper is a $4.99 pen.
Well, I learned that early on when I worked at Radio Shack, and a pair of $50 fiber optic cables. I saw the wholesale price was like 45 cents. And I was like, stuff is cheap and stores mark it up. But then it's also like, there's like storefronts and taxes and health insurance and all these things to have to pay for. It's like, yes, all that stuff.
So you're paying for a lot, but the pen you're paying for is a portion of that.
That's just the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't look at like the raw manufacturing cost at the source and think, that's what the pen is worth. There's all this other stuff that goes into it.
I mean, we could go on to
I'll get on a soapbox on that one. But you just kind of expect that. I thought what the way Janaea framed it last week was really good too. So next, Taylor Swift pen design thoughts. I mean, obviously, as somebody like plugged into the community, I think co-branding it with an existing manufacturer would be amazing, because then you would really be introducing people to the fountain pen world, so that would be cool, like more of a collab type of thing. I'm trying to think of what brand would be good for that. I mean, I think of like a LAMY Safari seems very fitting.
They've done co-branding a lot. Like you just mentioned the Pikachu pen. You've got the Line Friends stuff. They've partnered with Starbucks. They've partnered with a lot of large corporations
and they've got the capacity to produce pens like that for somebody of like Taylor Swift's,
they've got
panache.
They've got great reach and proactive branding, for younger audiences as
Yeah,
well.
I think
They can get into bookstores and stuff like that easily.
Yeah, there's certainly other brands that could do it as well. The Safari just seems the most top of mind for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different options I could think of. Pilot Explorer, that could be a good one too. Some sort of specially branded Explorer with her, logo and stuff like that. Could be kind of neat.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't think I've seen Pilot do kind of branded collaborations in that.
I've only seen them do like retail exclusives and stuff like that are more like limited editions of like a couple hundred pens maybe. And not usually the inexpensive stuff. That's usually like VPs.
You could do a Monte Grappa and have like a lit up stage with like a fog machine and all sorts of some pyro and
there you go. Now you're talking. That sounds like a Monte Grappa limited edition.
The pen would be on like wires, like it's flying across the stage with a little microphone. Yeah,
that would be awesome.
That would be very different than a Safari, but
different end of the spectrum.
Different wheelhouse, but
that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Monte Grappa does a lot of licensed stuff as well.
They do.
Never rule anything out. But I don't know. It's just really interesting. I think it's just cool to get that much attention in like a mainstream setting around a fountain pen. So that's my thoughts on it.
All right.
What about you, Drew? Do you have anything to add?
Oh, no. I agree that the Safari would be my first choice.
I literally just read that's what you wrote. Sorry, I did not mean to hijack.
No. That's fine. I completely agree. I got to say my thing. But no, I think that hopefully we look back and say, hey, you remember back, pre-June 2024 when, sales were like here, and then after Taylor Swift pen, things just changed and the whole fountain pen world just...
Like everybody had a fountain pen on them.
Yeah,
now.
man. Can you believe there was a time where everybody didn't have a fountain pen on them? And it was just like a luxury item for fun? Golly. Now everybody's got one right alongside their iPhone.
That's right.
So maybe one day we'll be talking about that. I don't think so. I'll be happy with like something in between.
We can dream.
I'll be happy with something in between that and no one cares.
Well, that's a spread. You got all bases covered there pretty much.
That's how I manage my expectations.
There you go. Sounds reasonable.
Can't be disappointed.
All right. Torpedo Monkey.
Oh, yeah.
Multiple contributor here. So.
There's one question.
Yes.
He ran out of space.
So, if Brian or Drew could take an existing pen model and add their own color, nib engravings, etc., what would you then do? I would like a black trim, dark teal Pilot custom Urushi. That sounds awesome.
Dark teal.
Dark teal.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That is slick. With
and
if it's black trim.
If it's Urushi too, I would want to see an ombre, like a dark teal to black ombre.
Oh.
Ooh, that would look so slick.
Mm.
ST
DuPont can do it.
Pilot could do it.
Oh, they could do it.
They could.
They've done ombre. They just haven't done Urushi ombre. Not that I've seen.
Not like on a whole pen. They've definitely done it like within, certain elements of pens before, like if they have like a snow-capped Mount Fuji or something like that.
Is it like two different colors of Urushi lacquer though? Because I thought they generally just use black and they use like gold flake to kind of create that.
I mean, that's technically still an ombre. Anything that
I thought you were talking about like two colors. Like two colors of Urushi.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, like Tatcha has done that. I've seen that. They'll take like a red into a black or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of the Sailor bespoke stuff too.
Yeah, I haven't seen Pilot do it yet. And of course they could.
They haven't because they've stuck with more like
traditional.
I'll call it traditional, but I don't. There's so many different forms.
Yeah, tradition could
of maquille.
Yeah, that's fair.
I genuinely don't know what's traditional.
Yeah, it's not up to us to decide what's traditional maquille.
Traditional within the pen world, maybe that we've seen. We'll go with that.
What would we like to do? So I have top 5 I came up with. So I thought about the monkey of torpedoes question, and I said, let me curtail this a little bit because I could go on. Because sky's the limit. Basically, he's saying, just what would you do that's not around? We'll try to.
That's an open-ended question.
Yeah, it is.
There.
So I'm gonna take existing pens and make slight changes to them. And here's what I would do. So number 1. I am a big fan of the Pilot E95S or Pilot Elite.
Are you?
I am.
That's the first time I'm hearing about it.
Right?
Okay.
I want a green one with gold. So green and gold rather than black or maroon and silver. I want a green and gold, maybe rose gold, but just definitely green and gold, maybe a darker gold E95S. So
like a gold cap? Because it's got gold trim, so you're not talking about accents. You're talking about like what was normally like the ivory color. Would you make that a gold?
We could go with gold, or we could keep that ivory and just have all the trim be gold. Either way, I'm not. I would be fine as long as it's green and there's some gold.
What kind of green? Because
forest green.
Okay,
dark green.
That's what I was.
100%. Something that something
like a green.
I'm thinking like old like library or drawing room, smoking room with like leather and that like green leather on a desk, or like the lamp, the that sort of green, that like Clue mansion green.
Okay. Clue mansion green.
That's what I want.
I like it.
I don't even know if there is one of those lamps in Clue, but that's what,
it's in
what
that,
my brain is painting.
It's everything's kind of dark and dark wood.
Yeah. Like wood paneling, but like green carpet, like it.
Lots
like,
of earth tones, like maroon.
That's what I want. That's what I want. And I think it would fit the overall aesthetic of the E95S. It would look kind of classic, a little, mid-century. So I think it works.
Absolutely.
Also, I wouldn't have thought about this, except for the fact that Torpedo Monkey mentioned nib engravings. I'm like, well, nib engravings. I mean, all the nibs look good. Oh wait, no, they don't all look good, because the freaking FA nib on the Pilot.
It's a bit plain.
It's so plain, Brian.
It could be more elaborate.
Why? It's one of the best nibs on these things, and they make it look so freaking boring compared to the rest of the nibs. It's a travesty. It's a crime. It's wrong. It's malarkey, hogwash, tomfoolery, and I don't like it.
Hot take from Drew here. I didn't know you felt this passionate about it.
I didn't even know.
You didn't know you felt this passionate
No,
about
I didn't. I'm like, okay. So yes, please, Pilot.
It doesn't, it's the only one of the nibs in that lineup that even looks like that. So even just matching what else is there would make sense to me.
Put something on it. It literally has no embellishments. It says Pilot. It says the little code, 14K or whatever.
I wonder if there's a reason for that. I wonder if there's like modification or something they have to do the nib.
I don't care.
You just want what you want. All right.
I don't want to hear it.
There you go.
I don't want to hear it from
T-Swift Falcon nib with, some engraving.
Give me a little swirl, or even, you know what I would take? I would take, how the Yovo gold nibs just have a little line kind of outlining it?
Yeah.
I'd be fine with that. I would be fine with that. I would take it.
Okay.
Just something.
Okay.
Anything.
Okay.
Wake up, Pilot. Give some love to the Falcon nib. The people love it. You need to love it.
Mm-hmm.
It should reflect how awesome it is.
Okay.
Anyway.
Clearly hit a nerve with Drew on that one.
Now I need to talk to Visconti.
Oh, boy.
Why?
Drew's hot and bothered
Why,
today.
Visconti, are you keeping all of the volcanic resin for the Homo sapiens? Why? We know you could do it. We know you could do it with the Divina. We know you could do it with anything. And it's not, and it's not a price thing, because you could have an acrylic Visconti cost just as much as the volcanic resin Visconti. True. So I know that
more. I mean, the limited editions cost more.
100%. So we're not, this material is not like, oh, it's too rare and expensive. Like, no, it's not. Put it on a Mythos. Put it on a Mythos Mirage. You can put a gold nib on there if you want to. I don't care. But no, steel is fine. Put some lava on some other pens. I like the Mythos. It's my favorite Visconti.
That would be pretty cool.
And with the satin gold trim, Brian, that like it wouldn't feel quite like the Bronze Age, but it's enough.
Oh, it would
like
be, yeah.
Oh yeah.
It would be special.
And you could call it Hades.
Let's get on it.
We're already doing it.
Visconti.
We've already got the Pantheon happening. We don't have a Hades. Lava pen, Hades, boom. Underworld, volcano, fire vibes. Please. Give it to me.
Yeah.
Give it to me now. All right.
Wow. I don't like this next one. I wholeheartedly disagree with you on the next one.
Okay, here we go. I like the LAMY 2000. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
So you would change it.
Hold on.
The perfect pen.
Sometimes I don't need to deal with an internal filling mechanism, Brian. So
okay.
I would like to have a cartridge converter option for the LAMY 2000.
Why? I mean, I get it. I kind of get it.
It's purely practical. Like, I like to switch up my inks often. Let's say I wanted to have the enjoyment and pleasure of a LAMY 2000, but I also want to use an ink that maybe I don't want sloshing around inside of my polycarbonate. Maybe I don't want to risk staining that little tiny ink window that I have. If I compromise that thing, I got nothing. Let's say
That thing doesn't stain. Have you stained a LAMY 2000 ink window?
I've never tried to use nitrogen in my 2000.
I think it'd be fine.
Okay. Well,
polycarbonate is totally different.
Well, I'm still not going to try. But yeah, I think
like a challenge.
I appreciate the kind of
like the form factor of the overall pen.
I want to use it more, but sometimes I'm like, oh gosh, and then cleaning it, it's just up and down and up and down and up and down.
I will give you that. It is kind of annoying. I don't clean it that way. I always break it apart
and just like
at the grip, and then I just flush it out. From the,
and you can do that. But I just find like I would use the 2000 more if it was a cartridge converter pen. The way I write, I don't utilize. It's not like it has a ton of capacity in there.
I was gonna say like, I mean that's true. It doesn't. It's not like you'd be giving up a lot of ink capacity.
Right.
You'd be giving up some. Because I don't remember offhand what the ink capacity is.
It's not a ton, but I mean it's considerable. It's more than a converter, obviously. But I just think that look, they've made roller balls, they've made pencils, they've made fountain pens. Why not do a cartridge converter option?
That would be my thing. Would a converter fit inside the pen as it is now? I don't know.
Sure, you can get one in a CP1, bro.
Yeah, I guess so. Let me see the ink capacity of the.
They could make it happen here. They could make it happen.
They could.
So yeah. And now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I want to lose
ink capacity. 1.35 mil. That's a decent volume.
It is. I don't need it though.
You'd be cutting that down like 2/3.
I don't need it.
Add it with a cartridge.
I don't need a LAMY converter. Does it for me.
Okay.
It's fine. So yep. Call me crazy. I'm sorry. I would take it. It might be a little cheaper too. Why not? I want that same nib. Obviously, I want everything to be the same. I just want a cartridge converter option.
Okay. I don't think you're that crazy.
No.
I think I just didn't like it when I first read it, but you've convinced me enough to not be upset about it.
Again, it's just for me. Like honestly, I would also love a I would love a well, that's why I wanted the 743. Is because
versus
it's
the 823.
Yeah. I love the nib. I love the form factor. It just I don't need that capacity.
Okay.
All right, and finally, I think we talked about this one last year after coming back from the DC pen show because we saw a big model of a Pilot vanishing point that was transparent. We could see all of the inner workings.
Yes.
I would love to see a transparent Pilot vanishing point. The innards of that pen are fascinating. Really interesting, and it's just kind of a miracle this whole thing really works at all.
Yeah.
And why not? I know that
would be cool.
Traditionally, always, they've been brass barrels.
I think so.
Or aluminum if it's the Decimo.
I mean, they've had some resin. They've got they've definitely done some resin ones.
They've done wood, I know.
Yeah, they've done wood. Mm-hmm.
Which one was resin?
Oh, boy. I don't remember. I think some exclusives that they've done before. Maybe I'm mistaken about that. Maybe I'm getting that mixed up.
But either way.
Maybe I'm thinking of the something else. I don't know.
Well, why not?
Let me research it.
If they can do brass, they can do resin, I'm sure.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'd like to see a clear VP.
All right. Yeah. That would be cool.
So those are my 5.
Okay.
Green and gold E95S, engraved FA nibs, volcanic resin Mythos, cartridge converter 2000, Pilot VP, demo. Oh, with black trim. Demo, black trim. I want that black matte trim.
That's cool. I would be into that. All right. I feel pretty good about my choices.
Do tell.
I got some much wilder, different stuff than anything you've mentioned here.
All right.
So I daydreamed a little bit. I could have kept on going, but I cut myself off. I also ended up doing 5. I just felt like the natural place to stop. First off, I love the Pilot custom reissue that you mentioned there, Torpedo. I would definitely be into that. LAMY 2000. I had to pick one of those as well. I really want to demonstrate a LAMY 2000.
Oh, yeah.
But not just a clear demonstrator. I think that there needs to be a clear demonstrator LAMY 2000. I will take that to my grave. But a translucent teal LAMY 2000. Like a la the Kumpu 3776, that shade of teal.
So a nice degree of transparency.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not super transparent, but maybe 30% opacity.
So there's the custom 74 teal. That's a little
Yeah,
darker.
It's a little darker. That would be okay. Like
Okay.
that's as dark as I would want to go.
Okay.
But I would maybe go a little more translucent.
Between
than
that and the Kumpu, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Something like that. It depends on how thick it would end up being, because it's like I would want it to be somewhat translucent, but I wouldn't want to lose the depth of the color.
Yeah, I think
so you'd have to kind of walk that line.
Yeah, I want to say that the polycarbonate's pretty dense on the walls.
See, I don't even know if you can do polycarbonate in that type of color. Because it's a totally different material than
I've seen it
your
in
typical
different
pens.
colors.
Yeah,
I've seen it in clear too. Yeah.
Okay, but I would not want it brushed like it's currently brushed. This would have to be crisp, clear. Yeah. That would be awesome. And then you could see the piston inside there. Oh, that would look so good. Okay, so that I would do. I think having a LAMY Safari, but in the color that we have in the Diplomat Magnum Prismatic Purple. So that like iridescent purple kind of green blue in a Safari, how good would that look?
Yeah. And they're similar materials too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
That would be awesome. I would
Take
love
my
to
money.
see that. I would love to see that. TWSBI Vac Mini in Iris.
I just realized we finally took pictures of that Magnum after
we
me
did?
asking for so long. I'm like,
Oh my
in my
gosh.
mind, I'm like, I can finally use one. Yes.
Hey, there you go. Didn't even realize that. Yeah, that's we've carried that for 3 or 4 years at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, TWSBI, they haven't done anything different with the Vac Mini at all.
Yeah.
Ever. It's literally just been that demo, which is cool. But just something a little different with that would be awesome.
They need to get
It's
some
such
love.
and I know that it doesn't make sense because it's not that popular and there's all these parts and it's complicated. But just the Iris trim, just take the same, like that can't cost any more to just put the PVD coating on that trim instead of a VAC 700 trim. Seems doable to me. That would be pretty epic. I haven't actually ever suggested that to TWSBI, so I might just have to be like, hey. So I don't know if y'all like that. Comment about it. We can throw some weight behind it. All right, next one. I think you'll like this one, Drew. Pilot Custom 823 in the amber color, but the amber would be our Benu Earl Grey material.
Oh.
Yeah. So an Earl Grey Custom 823.
With the flex in it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 Mhm.
Wouldn't that be good?
That color is so rich. And it
Yeah.
looks like it has this kind of almost like bourbon-y, scotchy sort
I was going
of
to say,
vibe.
like, it definitely has like a bourbon kind of a vibe to it.
But
Yeah.
it's so just, love it.
I don't know if you would get the depth of it. So I'm gonna go outside of practicality because the thickness of the material has a lot to do with the depth that you get when you have those like flakes and bits of tea and stuff, tea leaves and whatnot that's in the Benus.
Yeah.
The Benus I think are fairly thick,
Thicker than a
materials.
823.
Yeah. So whatever laws of physics need to be broken to make that happen, you would need to get that look, but just slap it on an 823.
All you would need to do is just kind of make it a little chunkier.
I don't know what that would look like.
Yeah,
I don't
might
know
be
if
a
it
little-
would be kind of weird,
yeah.
but whatever. I just want it to look
Let's
like
break
that.
physics.
Yeah. So that's I feel really
Torpedo
good about
Monkey
that one.
said nothing about breaking physics.
Yep. And then the last one that I have. So this is my little traveler's pen.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have.
Wake that thing up.
So the easy one would be just to make it out of a different metal. Copper would be awesome. I love the look of like just raw copper, But
Before you've said that you'd like to see a Damascus pen at some point too.
I also put a titanium Damascus.
Ah,
Yeah.
nice.
That would look awesome. And titanium because it wouldn't like rust and stuff like that. Normal Damascus steel is not rust resistant because I have some Damascus steel knives, kitchen knives that I bought in Japan actually, and I have to like wipe them down after I use them because they will rust if you leave water on them. So I wouldn't want something that high maintenance, but there's some pretty cool techniques that you can do with titanium Damascus.
So Timascus is crafted from a combination of 2 or more titanium alloys.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, Damascus steel is a blend of two or more steel alloys.
Yeah, Damascus is the term for like
So you want
layering.
Timascus.
Timascus, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Titanium, Damascus, Timascus. It's just merging those two words together.
I see.
So it's the same thing.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just layers. So you end up with what essentially looks kind of like
Mm-hmm.
a wood grain, but it's in metal, and it just looks
Gotcha.
incredible.
Oh, yeah.
But that on this little guy
Oh, heck yeah.
would just look
indestructible.
awesome. Yeah, that would be very exciting.
Like, how many carports could you put together with that?
Infinite.
So many.
Infinite carports. Yeah. So anyway, those are my ideas.
I just realized that I unintentionally invented a new one last week
Oh,
because I thought for sure there existed a TWSBI swipe in clear. There's not.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I said, like, Janae was like, oh, it'd be nice to see one in clear. I'm like, oh, yeah, there is. And then just kind of wrote it off and we continued.
Yeah.
I think some comments were like, no, Drew.
No.
There's not. Someone called in
You're
and were like,
making that up.
Drew on the Pencast said this isn't clear. I don't see it on your website. I'm like, oh,
Oh, whoops.
yeah, no, there's not. I was drunk.
You're just thinking of every other TWSBI pen except the classic and the precision.
The what?
Exactly.
So, yeah, I guess I also want to swipe in clear. But, you know,
Okay.
if the mini's not getting any love, the swipe's also not getting any love. So,
Hmm.
but I will say the swipe has gotten more love than the mini. You know, at least it's in recent years anyway.
Yeah.
It's got like 4 or 5 colors at least.
Yeah.
The mini's just sad and
hanging out.
forgotten. Yeah, no, tragic.
All the minis, the back mini and the regular mini.
Ugh.
But they're good pens though.
What a crime.
Good pens. All right, cool. Well, that's it for that one. Thank you, Torpedo. That was a lot of fun to go through those. All right, next one we got.
Next one we got is from Sunny Chen, 2002.
Hmm.
Here we go, Brian. We have answered this before, but not in a while.
Okay.
Sonny wants to know, have you, the Goulet Company, thought of making a 100% Goulet pen again?
Thought of?
That's what he's asking.
Sure. Thought.
Great. Next
As
question.
far as it's ever gone. If we're talking like turn back the clock, Brian hand turning a wood pen on a lathe and doing it that way, no. I literally have not done that in 15 years since I stopped doing it.
Cold turkey hammock.
Well, it was easy because as the business grew, I had to dismantle my workshop and shove it all into a shed so that we could make room in our garage for shelving for the rest of our products. So I really did have to cut it cold turkey, and I had to sell a lot of my materials and I had invested a lot in just like pen parts and kits and wood blanks and stuff like that. It didn't make sense to hang on to any of that, and we had no money. So I had to get as much money out of the old business as I could to put it into inventory for fountain pen stuff.
Golly.
So I sold off, we had hundreds and hundreds of those pen kits. It was thousands of dollars worth of raw materials that I ended up kind of fire sailing because I just didn't have time to sell them like one-offs and stuff. So I ended up finding a guy through, my International Association of Pen Turners forum. I found somebody who was kind of local, and I just sold him like all of them for like
What was
$600.
When you decided to, like, you had invested so much time, effort, money, and passion
yeah.
into the woodworking.
Oh yeah.
When you actually did switch your workshop from pen turning to retailing,
Yep.
what was the balance in your emotional Venn diagram of like terror, excitement, determination, and just complete frenzy?
There's a lot of emotions wrapped in.
Yeah,
one.
like what?
I actually made a video.
I remember I've seen it. It's
Yeah.
very emotional.
It's called the hardest video I've ever made, or something like that.
Yeah,
Or
like
the hardest decision I've ever had.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
make.
you weren't sobbing or anything, but you could hear in your voice that it was a heavy, heavy moment.
It was a mixture of things because I really loved doing that. I loved being a craftsman, and that was essentially going away by shutting that down. I was literally a whole identity shift.
Yeah,
With that,
that's terrifying.
it was but also it hadn't really been working that great.
Yeah,
So I also had feelings of I failed. I couldn't make this work.
oh god.
So like I really would love to do this. I envisioned myself as a craftsman, but then also I was never able to get it there. So, it was a lot of emotions around that. But then at the same time, I discovered the fountain pen community. We had found kind of a niche for us with retailing and making videos and content and stuff like that. So it was this mixture of like, this thing is kind of dying off in this old form, but also we're seeing success and I'm seeing a future in this new way.
And you were excited about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Because I've been working for, at that point, like 3.5 years. making pens that it was just every craft show, every event, everything was just, it didn't pan out like I thought it would, and just getting hopes up and putting in work. And then it just never quite worked. So, and we had a baby, we had a mortgage. So it was kind of like, well, however I feel about it, I got to provide, we got to get something that's actually working here because the stakes are raised, so there was definitely a lot of that I just had to kind of get over. But it was a mixed bag of emotions, and it was a big identity shift at that time. So yeah, it was.
I know there's a lot to unpack there. I just I can't
yeah, it was intense.
I can't wrap my head around that.
So there may be some of that just like firing up the lathe and working on a pen again would just kind of stir some of that back up
in a good way, or
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's all such a mixed bag.
It's so complicated.
Yeah, but I will say, even taking the emotions out of it, the one thing that I started to realize that made that decision easier as I learned about fountain pens and I learned what people like about fountain pens and what makes fountain pens good, a lot of that was stuff that I couldn't do with the way that I was making fountain pens because, I had to use like metal components. It was extremely time consuming, labor intensive, but the price that I would have needed to charge to make it worth my labor would have made it like, $500, $700. And it just wouldn't have been worth that, honestly. Yeah. And I kind of knew that.
Especially not at that time.
Yeah. So it would be more for like the craftsmanship. It would be more like an art piece at that point, honestly. And not that it can't work. Like I look at like Ryan Krusak. He's probably the one who I view the most. Like that's the route that I was going down.
Like a parallel universe, Brian.
Yeah, a little bit, but he's niche. He's small, and he's not trying to make mass production pens. It's all extremely artisanal. He's got an artist background, so he's got a really good eye. I have a lot of respect for Ryan Krusak and what he's done, but it would have been a whole different avenue to go down, and I didn't have the time. Do
you have one of his pens?
I do. Okay. I have a collaboration that he did with Jake Weidman.
Oh, that's right. Of course.
So I got that thing. And that was, it's very special. But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot in that. So yeah, there's definitely some like going back and making pens that way. It would be the same kind of thing. Like I had a hard time justifying the amount of time it took me to make the pens back then in charging what I would have needed to charge. I don't think I ever actually charged what I should have. It's part of why the business didn't work that way. But if I did it now, my time is even more limited. I would have to, it just wouldn't make sense. Like I couldn't justify even selling a pen like that. So maybe as like a novelty thing or some special anniversary limited thing or like a fundraiser, if I, wanted to do something like that, I could see maybe doing it for that. But I don't know. It's obviously a mixed bag of emotions for me. But so yeah, that's not a strong desire to.
So what about the way you're used to, like a Goulet pen, meaning like an actual like, hey, this is the Goulet Pen Company. This is the section where you can buy Goulet pens.
So like our own branded pen.
Yeah.
Not a collaborative or
no,
like an exclusive
one that has no brand but our own. Like of course we're not going to manufacture in this building probably, but if we did partner with a manufacturer but they're doing OEM only.
I would have a very difficult time wrapping my head around totally making a pen from scratch.
Yeah.
Partly because it's really an entirely different part of the business than what we currently do.
It's not retailing.
Manufacturing is a whole different operation.
Yes.
And really to successfully do manufacturing, it's about design and that kind of stuff, but it's really about logistics and it's about keeping your operation flowing. It's about keeping it optimized. So it's very, very difficult as a manufacturer to only sell direct, because the way that you keep your operation running is to keep all your equipment, all your people basically busy at all times. So that's why a lot of manufacturers in all industries don't just make their own products. They will white label and do OEM stuff and they'll do things for other companies so that there's no downtime, because when there's downtime, you're just siphoning money off and the margins are not as good in manufacturing. It's all about volume and efficiency. So it's a totally different way to do it here. And it just wouldn't really make sense. But what I could see doing is working very closely with a dedicated manufacturer to design something kind of custom. So that would be the more natural evolution to go down for us, unless we started selling pens in just a such a huge volume that it made sense to bring some of it in-house. But I mean, we don't even have anybody with like CNC programming, or like really manufacturing experience at all in this company. So we would have to completely recruit for that. And it's a whole thing. So it's romantic to think about it like that, but it's just not that practical.
No. And I'm with you. It's like when we've, like, I don't know, maybe year 5 with the company, I would have been hot to try, like, absolutely, we need to do a Goulet Pen. Yeah, absolutely. Think of what we could do. The more I learn about manufacturing, the more relationships I build with our vendors and your manufacturers, the more I'm like, HE double hockey sticks, no.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like all the logistics and challenges that we have just getting like finished product into our doors. Just imagine that with literally every single component and raw material. The number of delays and stuff getting hung up in customs and environmental regulations that happen with different raw materials and precious metals and all that.
And every year we hear more stories. Every year that goes by, we hear more and more about just how involved it is, which is great because we are able to empathize more. We're able to understand the industry more. We're able to measure our expectations when it comes to new products from certain parts of the world. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But then it also makes us just entrenched in not me, not ever, no thank you. I do not envy you. I'm sorry you're having to go through this. I'm glad I'm a retailer.
Yes. We stay in our lane and we are really good at what we do. They're really good at what they do.
Yeah.
It's, for me, being in this industry has helped me to understand retail as a whole, like the role that a manufacturer plays, that a distributor plays, and like a retailer selling to the end consumer plays. And I'm like, there are markups along the way, but it gets earned. They earn that through.
And then no one sees it, and it's such an underappreciated thing too.
For sure. But the closer you get to it, and the more you know. Any of you who work in any type of like product development, whatever related industry like this, retail, you know that there's so much that goes behind the scenes that has nothing to do with the actual product, but it's just purely logistics that it's got to happen to make it work. So anyway. So not super eager to dive into that pool, but I could see there being an evolution over time. Just like, we started carrying like one co-branded kind of exclusive thing. And then, that was successful. We did some more, we expanded to other brands. It would definitely make sense for us to expand that more and more. And then if we wanted to going with, a purely Goulet branded pen, that would seem like a natural evolution to do. But for the immediate term, it hasn't made sense to do that because we have good relationships with all our brands and y'all know the brands. And it's not like we would have, a custom, I don't know, whatever. Take any brand, any model that we sell. If we just branded it Goulet and put it on there, you'd be like, oh, that's obviously a Twisby or a LAMY or whatever. Yeah. Like, who are you fooling? So it's like, well, let's just put their name on it too, So anyway, that's my thoughts on that.
All right.
Cool.
I'm with you.
All right. Next one from Packers Jedi. Have you ever found an ink pen pairing that made you want to use that pen more often? So focusing on the pen here.
Yes, most definitely. And I will say that I did recently record a video about my favorite pen and ink pairings. So I won't get all up into that because you will hear that later if you so choose. But I will say that the first thing that popped into my mind was, and it kind of goes both ways. I've had inks that have made me want to write with certain pens more, and I've had pens that made me want to write with certain inks more. But I'll start with the pens because that's more what Packers Jedi is going to be talking about here. First things first, Private Reserve Infinity inks. As far as an ink that has really revived a pen, those inks have revived multiple pens of mine because I've held on to pens that were not the best at keeping a good cap seal. I liked them. I liked the look. Maybe they were sentimental to me.
Yeah.
But I didn't reach for them because they would dry out over the weekend.
Especially if it's not the sole pen you're using. It's in rotation with some others. You're not going to use that pen as frequently.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Correct. One of them was my Monteverde Innova from 2020 or 2019.
Like the anniversary one they did? Yeah.
And I've got number 1984. And like, I love it. But it wasn't the best at sealing. I think they improved in later versions. Yeah. But when their Infinity ink came out and they're like, hey, you can keep your cap uncapped for like your a whole day. I was like, well, let's see. So I grabbed that pen because I knew that was pretty not so okay. And boom, it was fine. I
Yeah.
left it uncapped for the whole day. I wrote with it in like 45-minute increments throughout the day, but it was just sitting there for 45 minutes, and I'd write a word or two and then let it sit for another 45 minutes. And since then, any pen that suffered that, sort of symptom, I've said, okay, Infinity Turquoise. That's my go-to ink.
Yeah.
It looks great, and it's allowed me to kind of reawaken some of those pens that I would like to have loved, but they didn't want to be loved. So yeah, so definitely
You
those.
would like to have loved them.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And then I will also say that I was gifted a Pilot Custom 742 from Maruzen in Japan, their Morinochi store. And it is a kind of a light brick red pen. It's not the prettiest of reds. It's just kind of like a muted brick.
Yeah.
And I love the pen. I love the way it writes, but that color just, But then I said, you know what? Find a good brick red.
Just match the pen? Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not exactly a match of the pen, but the nib itself has bricks on it, so it's supposed to it's supposed to have that vibe. The pen itself looks a little light from what I would consider bricks to look like, but I'm sure it's accurate to what it's trying to portray. But it kind of got me on a quest to find a good brick red, and I said, well, this is different. This isn't burgundy. It's not maroon. It's a different new red that I haven't really explored. And I remember I haven't quite found a good one yet. But in my pursuit of a good brick red, this pen found its way back into a solid rotation. So I was appreciative of that. Monteverde Giraffe was actually pretty good one, I remember, surprisingly. Again, I would never have written with Monteverde Giraffe. But so not only is this pen kind of, I'm using it more because I'm finding these good inks, but I'm using inks that I would never have tried because I'm trying to match a good brick red. So if you have any good brick red options, let me know. I haven't found one yet that I'm absolutely in love with. But
yeah, because a lot of them are either like more of a maroon, kind of burgundy, or they get to be a little too pink.
Yeah, so it's a little tricky.
Heavy orange.
But I'm determined. I'm going to find one.
Or there's a lot of like rose colored.
Yeah,
things.
It's tricky. It's tricky, but they're out there. I'm going to track one down.
Colorburst Brunch Date.
I have tried Brunch Date.
That seems like kind of a.
That looks
not a brick red, but like a lighter.
Yeah, it looks more like the pen, but I don't like it. I want it to be a little darker than that.
You want it? Okay.
But that is closer to the pen. Yeah. And then also I'll say it's been the other way around. So for example, I've got my Sailor Pro Gear Slim Manyo Nuts pen, which is an olive pen with yellow ends. I would have never have reached for a yellow ink if it weren't for that pen. That pen brought me to love Ferris Wheel Press buttered popcorn, which it was taken away from me, but I found that I actually do enjoy some yellow inks. Helianthus from Royer and Klingner was my replacement after buttered popcorn went the way of the dodo, but that pen kind of reintroduced me to yellow inks and said, hey, why not try a yellow ink? Give it a try. So I appreciate that. Likewise, I would not have found my current favorite brown ink if it weren't for the Sailor Manyo, again, no, not Manyo, Pro Gear Slim, again, Christmas Pudding, because that just had such a solid array of holiday vibes that I wanted to find a good holiday ink, and it led me to Diamine Winter Spice. That ink I would not have tried because it has shimmer, and normally I'm not a shimmer person, but it was a very subdued amount of shimmer, and now it's like one of my favorite browns.
Dusting. Yeah.
Yeah. So that pen brought me to that ink. I think that's one of my favorite reasons for pairing inks and pens. Not because, it helps me choose because it's an arbitrary rule that just kind of narrows it down.
Yeah.
But B, it kind of forces me to explore new options. And there are options to explore.
Oh my gosh.
So many. And that keeps me so interested and engaged and fascinated by the products we sell and the new colors that are entering the market. So I love that. And I love that it's just kind of it's like playing a game on a different mode, switching gears to I'm not doing this because I'm looking for something to write a letter with. I'm doing this to just play with my pens and ink.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of you switch that track and you have a completely different experience. And I just love doing that from time to time.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Cool.
The answer is yes.
Awesome. I don't have a lot to add.
Yeah, you don't really pair your inks. You're pretty much just I like this.
I kind of do, but I'm a little more haphazard in my pairings. I will not specifically necessarily tie one ink to one pen. It's more if I like an ink, I'll just use that in whatever pens that I'm inking up at that time.
I'm going to recommend to you one combo that I'd like for you to try because I took one of your pens and I tried it in it for this video I was talking about ink pairings.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me what you think.
Okay.
Homo sapiens Bronze Age
Okay.
with Diamine Sunset, because instead of pairing it with blacks or anything like that, you put a lava color inside of the lava pen.
That's cool.
Right?
I'm into that.
I was super into that. I'm like, why haven't I thought about this before? But when I was working on this video, I was like, that is it. I want to put the liquid hot magma into the lava pen. So you've got the cooled lava.
It's like an orangey kind of red.
That's what I was looking for. I wanted it to look like magma. I didn't want it to be red, didn't want it to be orange.
Okay.
I wanted it to be that dark orange. And so that way you have just like what lava would have. You'd have a black crusty outside with a molten center.
Yeah.
And I got so excited about that.
You know what I did have that pairing, not that exact ink.
But you did an orange?
But I did an orange.
There you go.
The Noodlers.
Cayenne?
Nope.
Habanero?
The better one. No, the better one. Why am I blanking on the name?
Southwest Sunset?
Southwest Sunset.
That's straight up orange, though.
Yeah, I mean, Sunset's pretty orange, too.
It is, but it's got a hint of red.
It's got more red in it than Sun.
If I was to pick a Noodlers one, I would go with habanero or Cayenne.
Yeah, this is more along those lines. Yeah. But yeah, the Southwest Sunset, I use that heavy for a while.
I love the idea of molten lava inside of the crusty lava. Like, for me, that pen will always need to have a dark orange in it, or a red orange. Like, love it.
I might be inclined to go even a little redder.
Yeah, go for it.
Than Sunset.
Yeah, just magma it up.
But I have then I'd be like, like Red Dragon.
No, that's not magma.
That's too red.
Yeah.
That's too red.
It's got to have a little orange. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're right when you have hot magma. I'm thinking of it as red, but no, it's really orange.
It's like orange yellow.
Yeah, because it's, Well,
it's not yellow. Like there's fire that looks a little yellow, but it's
really
just
some yellow in it too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
this is pretty much right in the vein of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at a lot of oranges, and Sunset was the one that I settled on.
Okay, I'm into that. Is that still linked up, or did you clean it out?
I cleaned it out for you.
Oh, dang it! You should have left it in there.
I'm not gonna borrow your pens and leave them inked up. You do that yourself.
I mean, if it's a good pairing, I do that myself. My goodness.
You don't need me to help you out with that.
Fair enough.
All right. Okay, we ready for question number 5?
I think so.
All right, this is coming to us from the Branimator once again.
There's another fun one.
Yes, the Branimator wants to know, what's something you want to see in fountain pens that hasn't been done yet? Brian, a piece of technology that's over 100 years old. We're going to come up with some new ways to make it interesting. I will say
it's very possible, though kind of doubtful, but it's possible that some of these may have been done in some obscure brand or something. Something that
important to mention
that we're not aware of.
Yes,
but it's not something that is like anything you see in today's pens. Yeah. So I had a few of them.
All right.
At first, I had a hard time coming up with them. I saw your list and I was like, these are all very interesting.
It took me a moment
stuff
too.
I wouldn't have thought about.
But once I got one, they rolled.
Yeah, I had kind of the same thing. I got a little bit on a roll. So the first one, I've thought about this for years. But having a pen, I'm a big fan of like iridescent colors. And
yes,
stuff
you
like
are.
That. But you remember the old like mood rings?
Yeah.
Where you would like touch them and they'd be like heat sensitive.
Of course.
Have that in a pen.
Heck yeah.
How cool would that be?
Did your mom ever have that like strip that you'd stick to your forehead that told your temperature?
100%. Yeah, that was like my main thermometer.
Those must have been terrible.
Yeah,
like they just disappeared.
Yeah,
but like I feel like they came in like packages with certain things, but like that was the thing. Like I don't think our parents bought those. I think they like came with cough syrup or something.
I have no idea.
When
I was a kid, my parents stuff just happened. I didn't know what was going on. But yeah, exactly.
Any moms out there from the late 50s, please let us know. Like 1950s.
Yeah, there you go. But
yeah, same concept. You could absolutely do that.
So I don't know if it's whether if it need to be like a material, because like the mood rings is like, I guess it's like a stone. I actually have no idea how they work. Whether it was like a stone or something that was, or whether it was just some kind of resin that had some pigment in it that would do that property. I don't know. But it seems like that would be an interesting pen material.
Yeah.
How cool would that be? If you like hold it
something heat activated. Yeah. I remember I used to have these toys called Battle Beasts back in the day. There's little rubber animals, and you'd press your thumb to the chest of every one of them, and it would reveal their element, like wood, fire, water. And
I think some Transformers had that too.
It was a popular
stickers.
It was a popular thing in the 80s to have like holographic heat sensitive things.
Why couldn't that be a thing?
I don't know. It was super cool.
Goulet Pen. There you go. That can be our one out of the gate.
There's also another brand of toys called Luminaries. No one knows about this. Like no one has ever remembered these.
Luminaries.
And there was kind of the same thing. They'd have a banner that had their symbol on it, and I think they might have had something on the chest too. It's very obscure. I don't think I've ever met anybody who knew what that.
Luminaries.
It was a
It's not even coming up in a Google
I
search.
think it was Luminaries. It was a cartoon. They had toys too, of course, because it was the 80s, and every cartoon needed to have a toy, and every toy needed to have a cartoon.
That's why cartoons existed.
Yeah.
It's to sell toys.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. Next one I have, going to totally different. Mine are kind of all over the place here. So you know how when you have like more formal calligraphy, like a
Visionaries.
Spencer-
Sorry.
Visionaries.
Okay.
Okay. Visionaries toy. That doesn't ring a bell for me at all, but I'll look it up while you're talking. So you know how you have like an offset pen holder for like calligraphy?
Yeah.
That could be done with a fountain pen theoretically. I don't know exactly how you would do it, but it seems like it would be reasonable enough, especially with like a flex nib,
Yeah.
kind of pen.
Yeah. You need to just kind of like angle your ink tunnel.
Yeah. I don't know how it would work, but it seems like there would be some level of interest in that.
Yeah.
So that would be kind of cool
I
to
don't
see.
think that's crazy.
I don't know that it's ever been done. Maybe it has, because it seems kind of crazy that might not have never been done because
It's so common with dip pens.
Yeah, dip pens were like the standard,
Yeah.
and then fountain pens came along, and then that was like kind of the evolution. So I would expect they're probably in like the vintage days where there was a lot of bleed over. But also around that time there was so much technology that had to be developed to make reliable like fountain pen feed mechanisms and like these types of things, where I could see where maybe they just weren't able to bridge that gap, between the offset nib holder and then a fountain pen. But that'd be kind of cool. And if that does exist, let me know, because that would be a cool novelty thing to have. Okay, this one's a little weird. I don't know exactly how it would work, but you have nibs on
You do?
fountain pens.
Yes.
And there's usually some kind of tipping material that's like a harder wearing metal.
More often than not.
Well, if you look at, they're typically some kind of like rhodium or plate, some kind of iridium, whatever alloy in that kind of platinum family.
You want a new tipping?
So the rhodium is a 6 or maybe a 6.5 on the Mohs hardness scale.
Oh, we're going back to Mo.
Mohs coming out.
Okay.
I would think it would be cool to have a diamond tipped fountain pen nib, because that's a 10 on the Mohs hardness scale. It would essentially like never wear down. Now, normal fountain pen tipping lasts a really, really, really long time.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether it'd be some kind of, I don't think you can like liquefy diamonds and like coat it or anything like that. You only see diamonds typically as like crushed up into a powder, and then it's an abrasive, so it wouldn't be smooth.
That's my thought. Like I immediately went to tools and like, drilling components. Those are all powdered diamond, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I have no idea how you would actually do this. That's a diamond abrasive. That's made to be abrasive.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking if you have like a diamond that you polish, it would be smooth. So I don't know how you would actually attach it to the nib, because normally when they have rings, they set it with prongs, so that wouldn't really work on a fountain pen nib.
Could you coat tipping material in diamond dust and polish it so it's not abrasive?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Jewelers, talk to us.
Technically, any abrasive, if you make it fine enough, feels smooth at some point.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what you're doing with,
What would you polish it with, though? Like,
how do you polish diamonds?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
More diamonds.
They have to anyway, because you cut diamonds.
You do.
Some to
people
make facets, you got to polish it somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't. I think you polish it with other diamonds.
I think that's the only way to do it.
I think, yeah. So I have no idea how this would actually work.
I like the idea.
But the idea of having like basically a non-wearing fountain pen tip. It wouldn't necessarily like write any better, probably.
No.
But I don't know. It'd probably just be unreasonably expensive and time consuming.
Yes.
And impractical.
Yes.
But, why not? We're dreaming.
Yes.
This isn't practicality. Okay. This next one is kind of weird. I don't know if it would even work. But there's a material called nitinol. It is a what falls into the shape memory alloy category. So basically, you can bend it. So if you have like, say, a wire or something like that, you can literally take it and like wrap it around your finger, and it'll be like a coiled spring. But then you heat it up, and it goes back to its original shape.
Okay.
So when it's heated, it regains its original structure.
What do they use it for?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
Something. But I don't know. It just seems like an interesting material
for what?
For a nib.
For
maybe.
a nib.
I don't know. Maybe. Some. I don't know. I think it's a cool. It's a
Do
cool
something
thing.
with it.
I don't know. Like
Put it on a pen somewhere.
A clip, maybe. If you bend your clip, you can just heat it up and it just goes right back. I don't know. I have no idea. It's something somebody like probably 8 years ago emailed and been like, hey, this is a cool material. What do you think about this? Maybe it was back when I was doing the original Q&A. Somebody asked about this material or something, and I was like, oh, I don't know how that would work. But
I guess if like you sprung your nib, this would be unspringable because it could go right back if you heat it up. Yeah. So
then if you did that, you would also be like heating your feed and all that. But I guess you could remove the nib and then heat it up and it would go back.
I guess
that's maybe kind of what I'm thinking.
It could never go out of alignment. You could always get it right back.
I don't know what kind of alloys there are.
It would need to go exactly back to where it was though, like by the.
I know.
Like exactly.
It's probably not practical, but we're not being practical here.
We're not breaking physics though, like we did on the other question.
Yeah, the assumption would be that this would work, but I don't know. Some sort of shape memory alloy would be really cool. And then the last thing, this is a little more practical. Urushi or rod in some kind of maki over a clear barreled pen. So again, going back to my like ombre thing that I really like, just imagine like a Namiki Emperor or something like that. I'm talking like crystal clear pen.
Yeah.
But then it has Urushi lacquer over top of part of it. And then it kind of like ombre fades. And then it's like a demonstrator sort of on the end. So you can like see through the pen on part of it, but then you've also got the maki in there.
Interesting.
Or have some like rodden or having like just straight up rodden over a clear barrel. So you get the sparkliness, but you can also see through the pen. And then you can see your ink sloshing around and stuff like that. Oh. I've never seen anything like that done. But I mean, you got some maki done on your Kakuno, right?
I do. Yeah, I do have one.
So that's
Kakuno.
over. Was that over a clear?
No, this one was. If you look inside the cap, you can see that it's one of those mint blue ones.
Okay.
So it was done on a white barrel.
But you could just as easily
theoretically
do it over a clear barrel, and if you just don't coat the whole pen, then you could have a clear / maki. I've never seen that done.
Yeah,
I think it would probably be like an absolute travesty to traditional maki work, but I think that would be really cool.
That sounds neat.
Yeah, you can like incorporate it into the whole design elements. Or something.
If anybody did that and sold it, it would probably be Tatsuya.
Yeah, Tatsuya does some pretty out there stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Talk to Shujen about that.
I don't know. It sent me down a rabbit hole where I was researching different maki techniques, and some people had some step-by-step things, and I found some videos and all that, and I was like, I gotta stop this.
Brian.
I was like, this wasn't even the nature of the question.
Yes,
I can't go down.
I
can't deep dive on something that is one of the things that I brainstormed to answer this question.
You also can't deep dive on something that potentially leads you into a hobby that leaves you with terrible rashes.
No, Rachel. Yeah, that is. I can't do maki.
If any hobby is completely off limits to you, it's that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That would be a terrible idea for me.
It would.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because I think you'd be really good at it. It's,
I don't know. I'm not much of a painter.
No,
so
but
I don't know that
I guess the craftsmanship,
like the patience that it would take to do it. I don't know about like the creative aspect, but then again, like you don't need to paint. You can just like arrange things in the right way. All that takes is a meticulous attention to detail, which you certainly have. What I wouldn't have the ability to do with maki is the time that you have to wait in between each coat. It can be like 2 weeks.
Oh, you've got other stuff to do between there. Go play saxophone for a little while.
I want to see some quicker results than that. You know what I mean? I can't wait like 3 or 4 months to complete a thing.
You have, but not on purpose.
I haven't actively worked on something.
You've taken breaks though.
Yeah.
This is the same thing, just intentionally, not accidentally.
That's different when it's just like out of sight, out of mind. You're busy with other things. This is something that you like have to meticulously revisit.
Yeah.
I mean, if I took that approach towards Maki, it would take like 7 years to make a pen because I would come back to it every 3 months and do another layer.
But then you could say it took me 7 years to make this. Like, oh my God.
That's not lying. That would be the case. I would make 4 pens in my life and then I'd die.
I'm very glad that you established that we're not paying attention to feasibility because my
Good.
first one
Did that set you up well?
my first one absolutely is not feasible.
Okay.
Adjustable nib sizes. Don't know how that would happen.
Like on the fly, going from like a fine to a broad or whatever.
Yep.
I mean, you've got that with some nibs. Like you can flip them over and you get some different line variation.
No, I want to actually change it. Okay. So now I'm thinking if this were possible.
Not with like a nib swap or anything like that. You're talking like...
I mean, maybe there's a button you press and it just goes like... Whoop, whoop.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, something that allows you to...
Telekinesis. Why not just make it like...
Okay, hold on.
I mean, if you're suspending reality...
I'm thinking maybe not a standard nib size. Let's see, maybe I can take, a 0.7 nib up to a 1.5 nib if we're going stub route. Maybe there's some sort of... Kind of like how the custom... Justice 95. Golly. Sure.
Yeah.
The Justice 95 has that bar that goes in and out. Maybe there could be a bar that goes like in and out up at the front to kind of like elongate or retract the tipping size. Maybe just like metal plates that can, spread your ink out in different widths. Like, I don't know. It's not so crazy. Or maybe it's just a bar that pushes another larger bar forward that covers the nib.
Kind of like how you have like stacked nibs that get made up into like
but the stack
designs.
is retractable.
Retractable.
Just thumb it forward and
Retract a stack.
Retract a stack. I love it.
There you go.
Thumb it forward, you've got a 1.5. Thumb it back, you're down at a 0.7 or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
So I'm not thinking like, oh, here's a fine, here's a medium, here's an extra fine. Like, obviously that's not possible. I'm like something that I don't know. So also, adjustable texture, something that could allow you to have
like the smoothness of the
smoothness.
nib?
Yes, if you wanted something kind of textury or something that's super smoothy, depending on what type of paper you're writing on. If I'm writing on something really slick like Apica Premium, I do not want a smooth nib.
Okay.
But if I'm writing on something a little chunky, then I do want a smooth nib, something textured like original Crown Mill or something like that. I need something to glide over that bumpy surface.
Interesting.
I have no idea how that would happen. I have more of an idea about the adjustable nib sizes. This texture,
Retract a stack.
No clue. It would need to be some sort of, I got it. All right, some sort of shroud, a bumpy shroud up at the top of the nib that then would rotate to the underside of the nib.
Oh, interesting.
But still have a slit in it somehow. Nope, never mind.
Okay.
Nope, doesn't work. I thought I had something, but I forgot about the slit. Anyway, next up, hypercolor. Remember in the 90s, we had those cool shirts that when they got hot, they would change. It just said hypercolor on the front.
I don't remember this.
Oh man, if you must have not been as cool as I was then.
I definitely wasn't.
Oh, you definitely were because I was not cool.
Hypercolor.
Yeah, it was a very 90s.
shirt.
Yeah, look at that. It would just leave your handprints in there if you had. Do they still have them? Rad. Anyway.
I mean, they have everything.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, I'm a target demographic for anything nostalgic. So anyway, hypercolor was super rad. You would touch it, it would change color where you touched it. I mean, it's different than a mood ring in that it would be just a different color, like a different shade of the same color.
I remember like water bottles and stuff that had this, but I don't remember any clothing that did
I
this.
had a pink hypercolor t-shirt.
Huh.
Yeah, man. It was like
90,
96, 97 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was too busy. I was too busy trying to be a skater at that time.
You just put your hands right there, hold it for a second, and then whop, you look like Coco from Pocahontas.
Okay.
All right. And then glass barrel. We've talked about this before. I have now decided, yes, fountain pen companies could make a glass barrel fountain pen if they wanted to.
Sure.
If they wanted to. So I'm going to say
like a Gorilla Glass, like a more durable version
they could
of
do
glass.
it. They could do it if they wanted to.
Sure.
There's really not a ton of benefit for it other than you can say, hey, it's glass. Pay more money. Have it. I just think it should be out there.
Here's a more expensive, more fragile material that you can have your pen made out of.
Arguably stain resistant, though. So I'll say that. because
I mean,
glass.
ink can still cling to glass, because you definitely have
not this glass.
Oh, this is made up hypothetical
No,
glass.
There's plenty of glass out there that nothing clings to, like your windshield.
Well, that's got like coatings on it.
Well, so would this.
Well, then you could just coat whatever and just not
No,
have
you
stuff cling
can't.
to it.
All right. Anyway, glass barrel.
Okay.
It's a winning idea.
Yeah. Why not?
All right.
It
This
makes
one.
much sense as a nitinol nib.
This one is one of my two most reasonable choices here.
Okay.
An auto agitator. So for all of you crazy shimmer fans out there, you need to be constantly rolling your pen around to make sure that your shimmer is properly distributed before you write. Otherwise, the beginning of your barrel is going to be very shimmery, and then the second half of the ink that you're using is going to be boring and lame and sad.
Okay.
So you need something in there that's constantly moving. So I'm thinking a pen that has, you've seen the magnetic agitators where you put a magnetic bead in there and then the base rotates.
Yeah, it's like a scientific instrument.
Something like that where you've got a magnetic disc at the bottom of your pen near like that goes in a circle around your entry point from the reservoir to the feed.
Yeah.
And then a button that rotates something that makes just that agitator spin. And right at the base, you don't even need to worry about what's up there. You need to worry about what's coming into your feed.
Okay.
So you hit a little button and you're good.
Interesting.
Every time before you pick it up to write, and then while you're writing, give it a little, just keep things fresh.
I would be curious to know if you did have that.
Don't rain on my parade, Brian.
Would that make the pen like burp or leak? Because you would be sort of messing with the pressure inside the pen if you did that. Because normally if you're mixing stuff like that in like a scientific kind of a setting, it's like an open like beaker or cup or something like that. So whatever, there's like air on top. So, but if it's like essentially a sealed container,
it'd be fine. Well,
you like turn on your agitator and it'll just start like
no, because there are converters that have agitators in them. It's no different than that.
Yeah, but they're not actively spinning. They
not like could be
changing the I don't know.
They could you could
I'm curious.
those around.
I don't know if it would actually.
I promise you it'll be fine.
What,
I have no idea.
What it reminded me though, because since we're like bringing up all this nostalgia here, I remember at some point, I don't remember what this thing was called, but it was a pen. It was just like a crappy ballpoint pen, but it had kind of what you're describing. You would flip a switch and it had, how like a rumble pack and like a controller.
Yeah.
It's essentially just like an offset weight that spins. It had that on the back of the pen. The point being,
yes, absolutely.
It would make your handwriting look really like swirly. And
of course, being a nostalgia nerd, that got served up to me on Instagram recently.
What is that called? Do you remember?
I don't, but
Is it called like the squiggle pen or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had one.
You had?
Yeah.
I have a recollection of it. Maybe my sister had one.
Yeah, I had one. Me and my brother both had one.
Is it called the squiggle pen?
Something like that. You'll find it.
Squiggle pen.
But
squiggle pen 90s. Let's see here.
No. Something like that. Oh wait, those things.
Squiggle wiggle.
Yeah, something like that.
God, this thing is ugly.
Yeah, they were atrocious.
It's
but
really
I don't.
Fat and.
So you know what? You could do it simpler. It wouldn't need to be electronic and magnetic. You could do it as simple as having how Japanese eyedroppers have that plunger in the middle that doesn't touch the walls.
Mm-hmm.
Have something like that, but just on a spring. So you could just kind of like boop, 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 agitate it. You could do it. There are lots of simple ways to build in an agitator to a fountain pen reservoir, and I'm surprised no one has done it. Their shimmer ink is so popular right now. Somebody needs to say, hey, this is the pen for you. Because so many people ask us, what's the best pen for shimmer? What's the best pen for shimmer? Somebody make one. Make one and say, this is the best pen for shimmer. It agitates it for you. Have an evenly distributed bunch of glitter every time you write. Get on it, somebody, please. All right, and then give me money. And then my second most realistic.
I got to see a video of this squiggle wiggle thing.
All right, while Brian's doing that.
Yeah, this is totally it. Look at that. It's like, it just looks really, it's like a bunch of small loops.
Yeah, it looks like it's creating like a little telephone cord.
I literally have not thought about this since probably.
You know how messy that would be if you put that on a fountain pen? It would just be flinging ink spritz everywhere. It
would keep your shimmer ink shaken up though.
Yeah. And everything on your writing surface. Okay. Next realistic idea that I have. A reloadable barrel filler. So Get my drift here, Brian.
Aren't all barrel fillers reloadable?
No.
It's just an open barrel.
No. Here's the thing.
Explain.
If I'm the type of person who wants to use the same ink over and over and over again in my large capacity pen, which I am not.
Okay.
But if I am, I'm serving y'all here. If I am one of those people, I just want to put more ink in there. Do I really have to like unscrew the grip section and get all up in my ink? No. Hold on.
What, open up the pen to put more ink in it? That's usually a part of the process, but I'm
I
curious
think I just turned my idea into a dumb idea.
I think it was always there.
No. It was created for a second.
Well, explain the concept here.
All right.
Don't get caught up in the logistics. What was the idea?
It's going to sound dumb now because it's the same amount of work. All right. The idea was that if you could just kind of unplug something in the back and pour more ink in and then close up the back.
So you're not having to like unthread the grip section.
I guess, but then you'd need to close off the grip section so everything didn't fall out of the front. All right, never mind. No, that's a dumb idea.
It wouldn't all fall out.
You'd need to shut it off.
Because it's restricted.
Yeah.
No, I mean, let me think about that for a second. Because I've like...
If you unplug the back of an eyedropper or something like that,
it's going to kind of drip out of the pen.
you completely destabilize the pressure.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, what's the easiest way you could just unplug the back, pour some more ink in it, cap it, continue writing. I was thinking, is there an easy way to do that without... But then, like you said, you just unscrew the barrel. It's the same. It's the same thing, but a different end.
It's called a pen filler, a traveling inkwell. That's pretty much what that does, right?
Yeah. Okay.
But that's not for a barrel filler.
No. I was just thinking, like, even if it's like a piston pen, like, how can you just like put more ink in there without having to, like, if I
take it apart at all?
Yeah. Let's say I have an eco, right?
Yeah.
Rather, if I want to refill it, but I've still got a little bit in there, do I really have to eject it all out and suck more ink up into it and try that a couple? Like, how can I just
turn it upside down, expel all the air out, and then whatever ink is left in there, you just leave that, and then you put it in the bottle and suck it up. That's what you with a piston fill pen anyway.
Yeah, I was thinking
back fillers you can't really do that.
Yeah, I was thinking like, is there an easier way that just like, hey, this pen you can just dump ink in the back and go on your merry way.
Yeah,
but you can't do that without having to have some sort of like shut off.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're just overcomplicating things. Nope, I take it back. That one's dumb. All right, next idea.
Well, if you suspend reality,
no, I don't want to
suspend physics, then yeah, that's a good idea.
No, I'm disappointed in myself on that one. Next up, Kakamori nib fountain pen. We all like the Kakamori nib, right? It's great. You can get a bunch of different line variations in one nib size, but it doesn't last forever because it's a dip pen. I want that nib on a big honking pen with a big ink capacity because yes, ink capacity is my friend because that nib can put down a lot of ink. So we need to find some way.
Theoretically, that's possible.
We need to find some way to. Well, it's weird because you can't. Where's the reservoir going to go? Around the edge of the pen, like.
That'll be inside the pen, just like a fountain pen.
But like,
you would just need like a feed mechanism.
The ink needs to go around the nib and then down into the flutes. So you need to kind of like...
Yeah, you'd have to kind of redesign the Kakamori nib.
The flutes would need to come all the way up into the nib.
It would be a different thing, but the concept could still be similar, I would think.
Maybe. That might be too much ink to maintain air ink interchange.
That would be the question.
Yeah, I think that it would be too much.
I mean, when you're using a dip pen, it's just hanging out in there until you touch it down.
Maybe.
Probably if you carried it around, it would leak like crazy everywhere.
Yeah.
So because it's just too open.
Yeah.
But as like a desk pen,
maybe
potentially.
But that's what I want. I basically want a Kakamori nib with a reservoir.
Yeah.
Somehow.
That seems more feasible than most of the things that you've maybe brought up in
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
That's
anyway,
cool. Well,
I spent too much time on that. That's it for my list.
It's a fun exercise.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you for the idea there, Brandmator. And thank you everybody for these questions. These were a lot of fun. If you have more questions, you can leave them on YouTube comments, Instagram when we post on there, or email us at pencast@gouletpens.com. Next up, we have a pen spotlight on the LAMY Dialog CC. We will show you that briefly. We don't need to go all into it, but it's a cool pen and we just want to show you what's going on.
Yeah. All right, talk to us, Brian.
There's no like unboxing here because these are just my personal pens. So we've talked in previous pencasts about the LAMY dialog 1 and 2, ballpoint and rollerball respectively, and then the dialog 3 was the fountain pen. But it's longer. It's probably about this long. Looks kind of like a hot dog. But then they came out with the dialog CC. And to me, this is really the superior pen to the dialog 3. It's all the same elements, basically from like this point forward, it's very, very similar, except it has a roll stop instead of a clip. So the engineering's a little simpler because the clip on the dialog 3 was pretty complicated. And then the back of it is got this nice kind of like rounded cut swoopy
I really like
element.
that.
It's a really nice touch.
The thing is, like you
can see a lot more on the blue one.
Yeah, I love that blue one. So you feel
It's
like
so good.
you've seen one fountain pen and you've seen them all. This one is completely
It looks
unique.
really
I have
unique.
never seen another fountain pen that had this style of end.
The reason you don't see this is because you usually have to have a clip. Like it only works with a retractable nib pen because you don't have a clip obstructing anything over here. Not that you still couldn't put a clip, but then it would kind of change the whole vibe. But that's part of what I think makes it so unique. But it's very cool. These are the two colors. They've done other colors, I think. They did a white one, I think.
They did a white one. Can I also say that this was the first pen I saw that showed me that navy blue and rose gold look banging together.
These look really, and this is like a strong rose gold. Sometimes it's like barely not yellow.
Since then, we've seen other pens do that.
It looks so good.
Join navy and rose gold. Twisby did it, and LAMY's doing it right now with the
It's always
Safari.
looked good.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's been a little bit more of a trend.
Yeah, I think this was the first one to jump on the market, though.
It's got the 14 karat LAMY nib, which I love.
Oh yeah,
love this nib. Even though it's a little shorty, it's got some bounce to it. It's a wet writer. It's so good. If you like really, really fine nibs, I don't know. Have you used the extra fine LAMY 14 karat nibs?
I have not.
A lot.
I have not.
They're not as extra fine as obviously as like a Pilot or a Sailor would be, but I think it's pretty decent. If you look at like a Pelican extra fine, they're like super gushy.
Give me another twist on that. Let's see the operation there.
Okay, so the way that this thing works, and we'll show you kind of head on. So it's got this like little trap door that sort of rotates down, at the beginning here. So just that little bit of rotation opens that door. And then it just kind of pops that nib out. And then it kind of locks into place.
Yeah, you do feel a little bit of a click.
A little bit of a click, yeah. So then when you go to write with it, it feels very stable. It's not like I've never had it like go back up into the pen.
No.
And then when you need to close it, you just latch it back up. This would be a really good candidate for your PR Infinity inks. Because I will say, like, the trapdoor mechanism is really cool and everything, but it does not seal as well as like a Pilot Vanishing Point.
Yeah, because I don't think that little door is like meeting any sort of like rubber gasket or anything.
Well, even if it is, there's so much just mechanism going on in here. There's lots of opportunity for there to be like some kind of air leak or something. So I don't know. I think it's sort of a trade-off. Like this pen I've had inked up and it's like totally dried out. Granted, I've had it sitting here for months. So it's the kind of thing that like you're going to have to write with it a little more frequently.
Yeah.
Maybe charge it up a little bit every now and then, or, whatever ink that you have in it, if you just kind of like dip it in there every now and then, if it starts to dry up a little bit to get it going again, that's not uncommon with this. So it might be a little more hassle.
The nib on the black one's different, right?
It's a black nib. Black with gold, which looks so sharp.
That does look sharp.
So yeah, any of the black LAMY pens that they do with the 14 karat, this is the nib that you
Let me
get.
see those nibs next to each other.
Let me see if I can do that. There you go.
There we go. Yeah.
This one looks a little dirty because it is dirty.
So is that
sharp.
is the it's a little harder to see on my phone, but the gold bit on the blue pen's nib, that is rose gold, right?
That's a good question.
It
does seem to be a slightly different color.
Yeah, it looks rose gold as compared to the black, which is a yellow gold.
Yeah, now that you mention it.
That is awesome.
That's
a really nice touch.
Yeah. And then the roll stop is nice too. And it's very rounded, so it feels
I actually
really good.
love to grip that. I place my pointer finger on that when I write.
Yeah, sure. It's a nice place because that's the only problem with pens like this with a totally straight
where do you
barrel.
put your fingers? Yeah.
Well, you can get kind of lost.
Yeah.
But I think I'm the same way. I end up.
I put it just
like
to the right of it.
Yeah, I end up just kind of resting it right on there, and it gives me a nice place to kind of plant.
Yep, I like it a lot.
There. Yeah. Anyway, and then the way that these mechanisms work inside here, if you're familiar with the vanishing point, it's very similar. So you retract the nib in, and then you just keep on twisting it counterclockwise. And then as you do that, you pull it off of here. Unlike the vanishing point, though, which just kind of like slides out, this one is actually screwed in place. So it's got this little knurled section here that you kind of grip, and that allows you to unscrew the section. And then, it's got a nib unit, not unlike a vanishing point. And then it's got your converter in here that you can fill. You can either fill the converter directly, you can use ink cartridges, the LAMY ones. But if you go to fill the pen, you just fill it like this and treat this as if this was the grip section of your pen. Or you could just write with it like this if you want to. If you want to be a rebel.
Do not want to fill it with the metal, with it fully assembled.
Now, I will say a nice touch they have about this over the vanishing point. I'm comparing the vanishing point a lot because that's just like the retractable nib that everybody knows. You can actually see the ink level. So it's got an ink window for your converter. Vanishing point doesn't have that. No. It's just got like this teeny little bit at the end where you can maybe see it.
And like honestly,
so this is kind of a nice touch.
The Con 40 rarely gets up that high anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
It's hard to see.
So that is a nice touch that I think that LAMY's done with that. So it's kind of cool. And then when you go to put it back in, you don't really have to worry about how you're aligning it. You just got to not scrape the nib on the side, because you're going to end up twisting it in place anyway. And then when the twisting stops, then it's already in the right arrangement. Boom, there you go.
Boom.
And then you got to kind of tighten it up a little bit. So you have to like over tighten it just a skosh, and then you're back in business. So there you go.
Beautiful.
Dialog CC.
Those are fun.
I'm a fan. They're not like hugely popular, again, because LAMY, I think a lot of people associate it with Safari and All-Star and maybe Studio, some lower priced pens. This is definitely more in a premium kind of vein, but I don't know. It's simple design. I particularly love the blue one, and it's just a cool technology pen, so I dig it. Well, that's the Dialog CC. Let's talk about what's happening.
Yeah, so first things first. You want to know how many pens I have inked up? One. I have one pen inked up right now.
Oh, man.
That is all.
So you overcorrected a little bit here.
Well, I had so many inked up for so long because of the back-to-back videos that we shot. I was like, I'm got to chill out. And it is this random pen that we've never sold. This is
what is that?
This is a Pilot Gakken.
Gakken?
Yeah. I think it's, I don't know.
How do you spell that?
It's right there, Gakken. It's like a really cheap, flimsy E95S sort of deal.
It looks, I was going to say, boy, this feels like
it's very cheap.
Almost nothing there.
It's very cheap.
Is it steel nib?
Yeah. Extra fine steel nib. Huh. I think they only came in extra fine, but
it's a little like skinny.
Nib. I don't know when they were made, but I don't believe they're currently made. It's vintage-ish.
Interesting.
But I love it.
God, it's so light.
I know, it's really light.
Is there ink in here?
Yeah.
There's a converter in here, or is there a cartridge?
Oh, that little thing falls off.
Oh, whoops.
You just pop it back
lost
on.
the trim ring. Hang on.
It's a Pilot, so I'm refill cartridge land.
That's part of why it's a little lighter too. Not that the converter is real heavy either, but
yeah. But
how does this thing go on there?
You just shove it on. Yeah.
But
yeah, for whatever reason, that is what I have inked up right now, and it's just I have Pearl Noir in there, just plain old black ink in a little cheapo Gakken.
How do you like Pearl Noir though?
It's good.
It's a great ink.
It's good. Well, I did that video on the black inks, and I was like, you know what? It's there. It's on my desk. I sleep on Jacques Herbon too often.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Jacques Herbon, whichever it's named.
Yep, one of those two.
Yep.
So anyway, thought that was interesting.
All right.
And Father's Day. So that was a thing this weekend.
Yes.
I am a father and I have a father. So both events occurred.
Okay.
We did kind of Drew Father's Day on Saturday, and they did Dad Father's Day on Sunday. Okay. So for me, all I wanted was breakfast out and for my family to watch a movie of my choosing together with no phones, no distractions.
Okay.
And I got everything I wanted and more.
Yeah.
So we were about to go out to breakfast, and they wanted to give me some gifts. So they did. Archer chose to get me the newest Final Fantasy VII game, which is really exciting.
Okay.
I've been wanting that for a while. We're going to go see the Final Fantasy Rebirth in orchestra in October. So this is the game that the whole symphony is going to be based off of.
That's cool.
So I'll be able to play that. Mm-hmm. I haven't bought it myself because I was just like, oh, it's full price. And I haven't bought a full price game in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, why would you these days?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Once you kind of collecting retro games kind of reminded me that like if a game is good, it's going to be always good. So
Yeah.
you don't really need to buy them right when they're new. But
Yeah.
I have wanted it, so it was good to. It's nice to have. I didn't have to buy it.
Sure.
So I mean, he didn't buy it with his own money, obviously, but you know. And then Shannon got me 2 shirts. Got me one shirt from that was a Living with the Land shirt from
Oh my gosh.
Walt Disney World. It said, "Only then will we truly be living with the land," and it had like it's like the Epcot ball, but like half of it's exploding with foliage and
Nice.
sunshine, and yeah, so that made me very happy.
That's
It's
pretty
my
spot
favorite
on.
ride at Disney World.
Nice.
And then she got me an amazing button up from Roosevelt's that I had shown her just out of like, oh my God, how cool is this? Not expecting it because it was kind of pricey, very pricey from what I normally pay for my clothing anyway. And she had surprised me with it. Apparently she bought it that day. I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
So I'll show you a picture of it. And if any of you get the reference of what movie it's from, you can say it in the comments because I was over the moon. It's definitely from a movie.
That's cool.
So yeah, that was absolutely incredible. So after that, we went to Moore Street Cafe for breakfast.
Okay.
I got a nice bowl of hash and potatoes and eggs.
You know me, I'm a fan of things mixed up in bowls.
Yep. I had that
Especially
indeed.
breakfast food.
And they have the best pancakes there too. They're like so buttery, so terrible, but marvelous. And then, that was, and then we came home and I got to choose a movie. So I went back and forth a lot about my choice of movie.
Yeah.
It was highly debated in my brain.
Was this just like they had to watch whatever you picked kind
Yes.
of a thing?
Yes.
Okay.
But I didn't want to abuse them. So I didn't want to be like, okay, you know, you're going to watch, you know, Godzilla versus Megalon or something like that.
Right.
Because Shannon she might not survive that. So I wanted to pick a legit good movie, but also one that they wouldn't normally say yes to under any given
Sure.
circumstance. If I said, hey, I'm going to watch this, they'd be like, okay, have fun.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I decided, you know, Archer has never seen a Rocky movie. I've been wanting to watch a Rocky movie. Let's do Rocky.
Okay.
I
Which
thought
one?
that was the thing. Which one, Brian? Rocky 1 was the obvious place to
I mean,
start.
5, obviously. That's the best one.
Mhm.
They've had 4 to get it right, and 5, they finally dialed it in, right?
That's not true.
That's how sequels always
one would
work.
be the obvious place to start. It's the best one,
Sure.
and it's the first one. But also, like, just because it's
Is it the best one?
it's the finest film, perhaps not the best movie. So, I mean, it won Best Picture. It's objectively the best movie.
Sure,
So you can't really argue with
Okay,
that.
fair enough.
But it's a straight up drama. It's a straight up drama.
Yeah.
It's got a very depressing color scheme. You know, it definitely has that 70s visual. So I'm like, maybe that's not the best one. And he doesn't win at the end. You know, he goes the distance. And I'm like, I don't know if Archer's going to understand the significance of a nobody going, you know, the distance with the champ and how much of an achievement that is.
Well, he's never going to know that if you don't introduce it to him.
So yeah, you're right. You're right. Sometimes not winning is enough. And I like the message, but he's just not there yet. But Rocky 4 is like the most fun to watch, but it's also like you're not going to have any idea what's going on. Like, who are these characters? And, you know, Apollo's passing is not going to mean a lot because you're like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
So I chose Rocky 2 because it is more drama than cheesy action like 3 and 4 are, but it's not 100% depressing drama like the first one is. It's that nice blend. It's when
Who's he fight in 2?
he fights Apollo a second time.
Okay.
So the first time he goes the distance because Apollo didn't take him seriously. The second one, he's like, Apollo's mad because he went the distance. He's like, oh no, I'm going to show you it's a fluke. And then kind of gets him to come back and fight him again. But he wins this time.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I picked.
That would be pretty depressing if
I
the
know.
second movie and it was lost again.
Dude, that's how it works in real life, man.
That is
Like,
more real life.
we recently watched a UFC event where one of our favorite fighters lost his third attempt at getting a world title, and he's just such a nice guy, but just
Hey,
man,
that's how it goes.
it does. It
Maybe
hurts.
he's too nice.
Maybe. That's what you get for running a charity. Dustin Poirier.
It's not a I don't know, a career that rewards niceness
No,
generally speaking.
he's too good for them. But anyway, so I think they liked it, you know, for the most part. Shannon was like, I think I've made her watch all of them at some point before.
Wait, sorry, which one did you end up watching? Two. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And Archer seemed to like it. He said he wanted to watch the next one. We'll see how true that is. But it was interesting. After the movie, they're like, all right, cool, yay. And then he comes up and gives me a hug, just a silent hug. And
Interesting.
I was like, is this like there you go, I hope you appreciated that.
Like a Father's Day hug?
Yeah. Maybe it was like, there you go, buddy. I hope you appreciated what we just did for you. Maybe it was that. Maybe it was, I know you were probably just crying, Dad, you big sap, so it's okay. Calm down. It's just Rocky. You knew he was going to win. Right. Or maybe it was like I loved sharing this moment with you hug. I don't know. I didn't ask him. I was just like, that's all right. I'll take a hug. Okay. But I'm like, there was some purpose to that. And I'm kind of curious.
Interesting. You could ask him about it now.
Yeah, maybe now.
Because there's distance there.
Yeah.
Like not in the moment be like, why are you hugging me?
I didn't want to say that, obviously.
Right.
Because I'm like, this is great. Dude, he hugged me yesterday, I think, when I picked him up from after school, or I guess summer camp. He never hugs me around his friends. Yeah. And he did. I was like, oh my God, a 10-year-old hug.
Maybe Rocky opened something up in him.
You know. He's a hugger now.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes, that's what Rocky does, is turns you into huggers.
God, I cannot stop crying in those movies. Like, I'm just a ball of emotions during those. I'm just trying to tell him like why certain moments are meaningful. I'm just like, yeah, so that
yeah.
Stop talking, Drew.
Oh yeah.
So
I got my own story about that too.
Golly.
I had a similar experience.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
For Father's Day.
That's right. Yep.
I'll tell you in a minute.
Yeah, I'll get there because we want to watch that too. So, and then Father's Day for my father, whose name is James. I don't know if you know that.
I'm sure you've told me that.
James Brown.
James Brown. That's right.
Yeah. He doesn't go by James though. Anyway.
He should.
I know. So for his birthday, we also met out for brunch, at a place in Brooklyn Park, so city, and had a nice little breakfast. I had some steak and eggs.
How was the parking?
Luckily, that was my first question. I asked Zach, I'm like, what's parking like?
What's the parking situation?
Well, there's an unoccupied building next to it that is about to open, but the parking lot, it's not open yet, so we parked there.
There you go.
Yeah, I was thankful for that. I'm so lame when it comes to parking. I'm sorry.
Like
when we left and we went to the hatchet place where we were going to throw some hatchets. And of course, my brother Chad was like, how's parking? I said, I don't know. Because I will just find the first thing I see and walk. Because I would rather walk than search.
Yeah.
Especially
in the city.
Oh, yeah.
Richmond's got one-way streets everywhere. And it's
so yeah, I'm like, I don't care. I would rather walk. I'll just walk. Walking's fine. It's the middle of the day, whatever. Yeah. I was like, I don't know. I just parked the first one I saw. It's not a game for me. I'm not going to try to get the closest one. I feel no sense of satisfaction for that. My sense of satisfaction comes from the amount I decrease looking. Whether that's finding a good spot, sure, but finding any spot's good enough. So we went to throw hatchets. I was terrible, absolutely terrible. All my brothers were better than me, my dad included. So I was garbage, but it was a lot of fun.
Okay.
My thing was like every time I would throw, I hit the, I found a rhythm where I was hitting the board every time.
Yeah.
But
like the rotation wasn't right.
Oh, totally wrong.
Yeah.
So I could only use one style of hatchet, which is a very tomahawk, very crescent shaped hatchet.
Yeah.
And that was the only one that would work for me because it would stick in completely parallel to the ground. So I wasn't like coming at it like chop. I was coming at it like wink, like that. But I did it consistently. I don't know what I was doing, but I was like, all right, I'm accurate. It's going in, but it's just weird.
Yeah.
So that hatchet just kind of balanced out my own fallacies. But it was fun. We all had a great time. We were joking and laughing. They all got to drink, and I was lame. Coincidentally, though, we got a picture taken, and I'm wearing this bright pink button-up, and everybody else is wearing black. Just straight up black.
You just like stick out.
Yes.
So bad.
100%.
Nice.
So that was funny. We all had an enjoyable time, and it's probably just once a year we all get together. So
now, did you wear pink because Janaea said that you should wear more pink?
That was my Father's Day gift. It was the shirt that Shannon got me. So I got it the day before. So I'm like, I'm gonna wear it. It's my first day. So
there you go.
Now I will say it's blue up at the top. So it didn't go right from pink to my face. So I think that kind of toned it down a little bit. But whatever, I don't care. I love this shirt so much. I'll wear it every day.
All right.
I was going to wear it today, but I was wearing it while we were walking in the heat and throwing hatchets. So unfortunately...
hasn't hit the laundry cycle yet?
Nope.
Yeah.
Not quite yet. So yeah, that's not a rewear. And then as far as media consumption goes, I'm currently replaying The Witcher 3 for the third time, working my way through that, and then I'll move on to Final Fantasy because that's new. We are rewatching the first season of House of the Dragon because the new season of House of the Dragon is now available. We're going to move on to that. But it's keeping the characters straight can be a little challenging. A lot of similar names and stuff like that. So we just wanted to refresh ourselves.
Sure.
So we're doing that because still saving up to do some electrical work so I can hang my light up poster frames. That's slow going because, there are more important things to spend money on. So that's like at the bottom of my like fun money, pile. So like I'll put something in there if I can, but there's like 100 other things on top of that matter way more. So unfortunately that is the first thing to get disregarded, appropriately so. So still working on that though. And then I know that I've told you this before, but I thought that my hose woes were over. Because I got a garden hose that I thought was great. And I believe you told me like, we'll see in a year.
Well, you talked about it like the day after you got it or something. It was like, you gotta see how they hold up over time. Especially anything you leave outside, it's just gonna get tore up. So what's wrong with the hose?
Sprung a leak.
What?
Yep. So this hose has a shroud, so you can crank it onto the spigot easily. Somewhere within that shroud, the hose is just leaking, just spraying. So so it literally has a hole in it.
You can like see the hole.
It has two. I covered one up with some duct tape, but then but water is coming out from another place.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Does it have the gasket on it? Because I know that's one thing you always have to watch for. Because there's like a rubber gasket at the opening of the hose. And if that thing falls out, then it just like
no, it's good. It's not coming out from where my attachment goes into my hose. It's coming out from under the shroud, the little cranky shroud. So it's somewhere up in there.
Yeah.
And I love
Wherever
the hose.
They like crimped it or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's probably where they did that, wherever they attached it to that plastic thing.
Remind me, was it one of those like flexible, like stretchy hoses?
No, it's not stretchy. It's a thin gauge hose covered in nylon or something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, love the hose, but yeah, it literally is broken now. And I'm not talking like a little spray leak that I can just ignore.
That seems like
it's like
you can't even like
no, and it's coming out of like where you hold it too. So it's like coming all down your arm and stuff like that. If it was just like spraying somewhere, I could just angle it away and whatever. And it's not like I can just tape it off either.
Yeah.
And because it's a flexible, like it flattens when it's not in use. I can't just tape over it without it. I can't tape tight enough over it without compressing it.
Yep.
If it was a very rigid hose, I could just.
You're seeing the downside of the hose flattening. It sounds like just the act of it flattening and getting. It's just like something's.
I don't know. I'm so over it. I can't have a decent freaking hose. It
Oh,
drives me
man.
nuts. And I use it multiple times a day because I water my garden.
Yeah.
So anyway, done with my hose woes. Hose woes will continue. I might just buy the same one again and hope it doesn't happen again. But that might be foolish. I don't know.
Sounds logical.
Because I really liked it though. I'm like, maybe this is just a defect.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
They don't have any hose warranties, do they?
I don't know.
Is that even a thing?
It might be. Anyway, that's it for me.
How long have you had that hose?
Less than a year. A couple months at the beginning of the season, I think.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
It really isn't. It really should have lasted longer.
Yes. I'm hoping it's just a fluke.
Yeah.
It wasn't super expensive though. It was like $30.
I have so many
25.
different hoses.
The one in the front yard.
I keep buying different hoses.
The one in the front yard works
inherit
fine.
them or whatever.
Yeah, like but that one's in one of those little cranky things.
Yeah.
But I never use that because I don't have to deal with all that. But maybe I will. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sad now. What's new with you?
Fair enough.
Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. Happy late Father's Day.
Thank you. Well, I got like 2 weeks of stuff to cover, so
that's
I'll try to move through it in a reasonable manner. Yeah, I'll talk about Father's Day because you talked a lot about your Father's Day. Super low key. You're right there.
I took too much coffee.
Oh goodness.
I almost spit it everywhere.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay, I'll give you a moment here.
jeez. I'm okay.
All right. Low key day. We just came off vacation, so we were not looking to do a whole bunch of activity.
A Loki Day. That must be different than Thor's Day.
Wow. Yeah, that was good, Drew. No, we just kept it easy. Church in the morning. We had dinner with my parents because they're local. So hung out with my dad Father's Day. Didn't do anything crazy, just seeing him, hanging out. And then we really didn't have anything else planned, but it was after dinner. My parents had left, and I was like, you know what? I've wanted to watch a movie with the kids for like several months now, and it's always like one of them doesn't want to, or blah, 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 whatever. And I was like, nobody has anything planned. We actually brought the movie with us on vacation to maybe watch it there, and it just didn't end up happening. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So I wanted to watch Inside Out because it's my favorite movie, and my kids haven't seen it in a few years.
It's my favorite like Pixar movie.
100%. It's my favorite movie, period.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. I cry.
Oh yeah,
multiple times.
100%.
Every time I watch that movie. Every time.
If you don't cry during Inside Out, you have no soul. I'm sorry.
Drew said that, not me. But still, it gets me. It gets me. And I'm not a big movie crier, but something about that gets me. Especially because my daughter is 12, the exact age that Riley is in that thing. And, you know, my kids are going through puberty and all this kind of stuff. So it's like, oh yeah, oh my gosh, so much of this. So yeah, it was really cool. They were all willing to watch it. It was cool. I was a blubbering mess the entire movie. And it got to my kids too. It definitely hit them different. Like Joseph was like, oh, I've seen it, you know, but it hit him hard too. He's like he's a very thoughtful and like kind of self-aware, self-reflective kid. Mm. And, you know, even just like as he's finished 8th grade, he's like, I can't believe how fast it's going by. It's like time is just flying by. He like says stuff like this all the time. But yeah, it was the same kind of thing. Like, I don't know exactly what it was that hit him about the movie, but it definitely got to him. Probably didn't help that I was a blubbering mess too. So the emotions were high in the air while watching that. But I always, without fail, I cried actually more times in this movie this time, but without fail, every time that they're getting out of the pit of the, you know, the memories that get wiped away, Bing Bong sacrificing himself so that Joy can get up there.
Every time.
Always gets me.
Of course.
And then at the end when Riley embraces her parents, she comes back. Forget it.
Yeah.
I'm a mess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it was really cool. And it's like, I don't know, we watch movies as a family and it's usually like Sonic movie or something where it's like, okay, it's kind of fun. But this was a different level because like I could tell that my kids were like getting a lot more of the like adulty kind of themes and stuff in the movie. And they were even like surprised at how different it hit them than it did the last time they saw it. Because this was like, you know, during COVID, you know, that kind of things. My daughter was like 3rd grade last time she saw it.
Yeah.
Now she just finished 6th grade, and you know, so it was different. So that was a really cool experience.
So good.
I love that movie. I would have watched it myself anyway.
Is this going to get you into the movie theater for the second one?
We're talking about it, but I'm fine with movie theaters, but the rest of my family is really not into it. So I don't know if it'll happen. Yeah. We're talking about it, but also there's no rush, so we can just wait and then watch it. So that might be
apparently it's doing really well, both in terms of sales and reviews.
I've heard it's really really good. I very much want to see it, so I'm excited about that. But anyway, it was just kind of cool. I didn't specifically have like an expectation for what I wanted that experience to be like, but it just ended up being, you know, kind of what I hoped, which was like we all kind of watch it together and it hits, and you know, we kind of talk about it a little bit and kind of bond as a family. So that was kind of cool. It doesn't always happen with us. So let's go back in time a little bit. I started off my time off with our refrigerator here at work was crapping out.
Yep.
Didn't fully crap out, but it was like 50 degrees. So we have like a commercial style fridge because we love food here. And it shows the temperature on the outside of it, and it just like wasn't quite there. And it was like, oh, that's not great. Of course, this happened like, you know, we had our mental health half day. So I was here in the office, and then it was like I was one of the last ones in the building, and it was like, okay. So we had called a fridge service or whatever, and they couldn't get somebody in until Saturday morning. And it was kind of like, I'm not calling anybody else in for that. So I was like, you know what? I've got some things around the office that I could do before my vacation. So I'll just come in. I didn't know how long it would take. Turns out I got here at 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, which I was not super excited about, but it's fine. They didn't show up until 9. And then they were here until about 11:45. So I spent my whole Saturday morning here at the office.
God.
But they did a good job. They fixed it. Like, no complaints. But I was just like here at the office alone, you know? So I was like, and I wanted to like be sort of near there. So I couldn't really like be in my office doing things. But so I was like, okay, what's near the kitchen that I can just be occupied for an indeterminate amount of time? I was like, well, I have a lot of pens to clean, so I can be right there. I'm like accessible to the guy, but I'm not, you know, up in his business. So I just kept cleaning pens and cleaning pens and cleaning pens. So I basically cleaned pens the entire time that he was here. I got 28 pens fully cleaned out.
Oh my God.
And I tell you, and a lot of these were like, I couldn't even tell what ink it was because it's like so crustified and all this kind of stuff in there, because that's just what happened. But we have our ultrasonic cleaner.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is the perfect
Loaded
scenario for an ultrasonic cleaner.
Yeah.
Because I was like flushing stuff out with bulb syringe, you know, all that kind of stuff. But it still was like just still leaking out a little bit of color. And I was like, this is exactly what an ultrasonic cleaner is for. You know, and I could have used more like, you know, pen flush and stuff like that and like soaked it and all that kind of stuff. But I had so many different types of pens and it was just all over the place. So I was like, let's try this ultrasonic cleaner thing again. Because I literally haven't used it in years. Fired it up. Boy, it did a bang up job. So it didn't like totally clean everything out, but it loosened up all the crap.
Right.
And then I was able to flush it out and it worked out great. So it was, I have a picture of it. It looked like absolute chaos because there's not a ton of counter space there where we have our pen cleaning station. There's like 2 sinks there and all that. And I ended up basically just having pen parts all over the thing. So it looks a little chaotic.
So 28 pens.
28 pens.
That's all of them, right?
No, not even close probably. Well, it was a good chunk of them.
Okay.
But that's maybe a little more than half of what I need to clean out. Maybe half. I'm not quite sure. I haven't pulled together all of the ones. I do have some pens that are inked out. See, like for me, it's like needs to be cleaned is like this pen's not writing anymore. Because other than that, it's like, oh, this pen is still usable. It's still writing. It's still usable. So I can always grab it and use it.
So you had 28 pens that were so dried out and dirty that they would not write.
Yeah, basically all these pens were like empty. You know, some of them were like, I'd inked them up for a video, but swapped the converter between different pens. So it didn't even have a converter in it. So it was like super crustified. So yeah, it was like pretty much every pen was like a rehab situation. But I had the time. I was there. And my back was pretty sore at the end of it because I was like standing over a sink for hours.
I've been there.
But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make this some me time, clean out some pens, you know, just, you know, when you're cleaning pens and you like are taking them apart and you're seeing all that, you know, it's like getting to know old friends, you know, because some of these I inked up like a while ago. And I was like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot how this one works. Or I like inked it up so fast, you know, and just wrote with it that I wasn't even really thinking about it. And then just, you know, getting to kind of take it apart and put it back together and all that. I don't know. It was fun, kind of tinkering thing. And then the fridge got repaired and I was like, cool, productive morning. Yeah. So that was like sort of the start to my week off, if you will. And then let's see here from there. So we did a family vacation. So, you know, sometimes we've gotten like a lake house or something like with a boat and, you know, all those kinds of things. It's like a special thing that we'll do with our extended family, Rachel's side of family. This time the lake thing didn't work out. We had limited weekends that we could, or weeks that we could pick. Cause you know, just, we have a lot of people in our schedule. It's 10 of us. So we just ended up basically booking just a house, just a big house with like, you know, air hockey and pool table, and it had a pool and had, you know, some land to do stuff and get left alone. So it was more like it wasn't an Airbnb. It was a VRBO. I had never heard about this thing until we booked.
Yeah, we've used them before.
Yeah. So we had a good experience. But it was like a house in Charlottesville, which is like, you know, an hour away from us.
Yeah.
It's on like 5 acres.
Wow.
It had a pond like its own pond with kayaks and stuff, and a pool and hot tub and all this stuff. So
Perfect.
We decked out a little more on the amenities because we knew we weren't going to be like going out and doing a lot.
Yeah.
But it was like close enough. It was like 10 minutes from Charlottesville proper. So we were able to get groceries and go out to eat and bring some food in. So it wasn't like huge on the logistics complication.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it really ended up working out well for the family as a whole. And then we mostly just kind of stayed in the house and did a bunch of things. And there were lots of rooms to be in, and the kids did stuff, and we, everybody was involved in their different activities. And I brought my saxophone because last time I talked, I was 84% towards my goal. Well, I saw the finish line in sight, and I was hard driving.
Oh no, just like the cereal.
Oh yeah. I didn't overdo it, but I was pushing the limits on how much my body could physically take. But I hit it. I hit my goal.
Nice.
100 hours. I hit it on Thursday. The last 8 days that I was driving towards that goal, I was averaging like 2 hours a day.
Were your lips just totally numb?
My lip was pretty shot. I took off a few days afterwards because I was like, I need a break. Because I basically tripled my playtime.
Brian, why are you drooling, huh?
It was like the bottom lip, because your bottom teeth, when you're trying to press up against the reed, it just kind of rubs on there.
Ugh.
So when you're doing that for hours a day, it can wear you down. You don't really build up a lot of callus on the soft inner part of your lip.
I don't think you can.
Yeah, so you do have to kind of watch that. So, but it's okay. It worked out well. But what was really cool is that the house had this I don't know, it's a house that they use for weddings and stuff like that. So it's kind of scenic.
Yeah.
So that kind of worked out. But they had I mentioned this pond. It's not a huge pond, but had this pond in there with the house kind of overlooks it. It was very scenic, but it had this kind of dock that went out to this little island in the middle of the pond. So I was like, I'm gonna bring my sax out there. I'm just gonna play on the water with the sunset and all this kind of stuff. So basically every night I would play out on the water.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. So there were tall trees around this whole pond, and the pond was lower than the house. So everybody would be swimming or whatever. I would be playing, and it was like an amphitheater.
Yeah.
So they could hear me as if they were next to me.
That's awesome.
So I just ended up serenading the family.
It's a good thing you were at your 100th hour in that moment and not your first hour.
Yeah. I felt better because now I can actually play,
right?
And it's not
I'm not annoying these people. I'm providing them with music.
I'm not squeaking and out of tune and all this kind of stuff. I can actually play some decent stuff now. So that was motivating and kind of fun.
Yeah, and what a finale! What a scenic finale!
I know.
This is the first.
That's why I was vibing with it. I was
absolutely.
This is a cool finish line to cross.
Image 1, hour 1 is you in your closet, I don't know. Image 100 is you in this epic vista,
right? Exactly.
Playing in front of the water with the sun going down.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And there's bullfrogs all around, and they're and I'm just out there in nature. It was pretty cool.
Oh, it sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's epic.
So that was cool. And so, the deal was with Rachel that I would hit my 100 hours.
Oh, yeah.
And then we talk about a Barry sax.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as I was driving towards the goal, I was like, hey, Rachel, can we talk now? Because I definitely want to get this.
I want to order on
100
hours in 0.01 seconds.
Well, so what happened? I didn't pester her about it. And she's super supportive anyway. It's not like this is a big thing. But, basically I hit my 100 hours and I was like, all right, Rachel, I definitely still want this thing. Can I get it? She was like, sure, go ahead. So I ordered it
nice
within 30 minutes
of course
hitting my goal. So it's ordered. I haven't gotten a shipping notice yet. So I'm just trying to be very patient. So it'll probably take a week or two to come in, but I'm very excited.
And you're going to bring it in
at some point.
Okay.
I have to see how much of my tenor sax practicing translates directly over to the Barry, because I think it's going to be, there'll be some stuff that translates, but it's a bigger instrument. It's going to take more air. It might take me some adjustment
Fair enough.
to get to it, but I have not forgotten about it.
We'll allow you a little bit of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But it was kind of fun. So I was just like, I was at this scenic place and I was like, I needed to get a lot of practice time in. So I was like, what would be all the cool places to practice here? So I like played sax by the pool, played on the little island there. They had a little beach on the thing. So I was like, sax on the beach.
Absolutely.
Sax on the dock, sax by the pool.
Yep.
And then they had this room in there. It was, I don't know what this room was, but it was like a sunken room that was like octagonal shaped. And it had like bench seating almost all the way around, almost as if it was like you're supposed to have a piano in the middle or something, and then have like people that.
No, it's a sacrificial goat pit, I think.
It could be used for that.
Yeah.
I didn't see any like, evidence of that, but
well,
sure.
you don't actually use it. It's just one of those places that ups the resale value.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Just so that they can say that they've got
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
Exactly.
But it was like this whole house was like there was no carpet or anything. So and it was kind of an old house. So like you could hear everything in this whole house. So
nice.
I was like outside, I was like all the stuff reverberated, and I was like, I basically anywhere I was practicing on this property, everybody heard me.
You're like Snow White,
A little bit.
summoning the wild life.
But I played in this room, this goat chamber room.
Yes.
But it was completely empty, and it was just so echoey. The reverb was crazy.
Is that good?
Well, it makes everything sound amazing.
Oh,
So
okay.
the
But
more,
doesn't
the more
throw
reverb
you off?
have, it's different. Like you can't distinguish like faster notes as easily.
Okay.
But it's sort of like if you listen to like an orchestra on like a concert hall, there's a lot of acoustics, a lot of reverb. The sound is so much richer versus playing in like my closet.
Yeah.
So like I'm used to playing in my closet, which is like there's no sound bouncing anywhere because it's all filled with clothes, and I can just hear every little bit of out of tune and every not quite hitting the notes on tempo.
So it's like writing with a stub nib as opposed to an extra fine.
Yeah, and it was super loud in there. I had to wear earplugs in that room because it was just because I was practicing for hours a day, so it was like my ears were ringing because the saxophone's loud. So I did the earplug thing, but.
I can hear you in every room of the house, even with doors closed.
Oh my gosh, it's so reverby in here. It's kind of
reverby.
Yes. So that was really cool. I had like outside, I was listening in this like echo chamber type of a thing, which was a whole different experience. So it was a really cool, just like moment that was like
grand finale.
Kind of just for me. Yeah. And I had like a bunch of classical music I've been playing, and Rachel's mother was like a concert pianist and her dad was a trumpet major in college. So like they knew a lot of the music I was playing. So it was an enjoyable experience for everybody. So anyway, I'll let y'all know when I get my berry. But so I've been listening to like, some Maynard Ferguson with Bruce Johnstone with his berry sax, and Duke Ellington. Harry Carney was his berry sax player for like 45 years. So I'm like trying now to like cue up some music for the berry and listening to more people who are, featured as berry, Leo Pellegrino as well. So just, getting excited about my berry stuff. So that's that. And then got back home, mentioned previously how I had a trailer full of wood that's taking up the garage.
Yes.
Well, that was in there the whole time that we were on vacation, but we weren't home, so that worked out. But then as soon as we got back, I was like, I really want to get this wood out of this garage. I was like, well, it's going to be really hot and not a lot of rain. So I just told Rachel, I was like, I'm just going to park it outside. I'm going to finish my shelving, and then I'll just move the wood at my own speed.
Yeah, it's going to be dry here.
Yes, it is. But I actually got on a roll. I got all the shelving built, and I got it all moved in this weekend. So
all right.
That was actually how I spent a good portion of my
You're covered,
Father's
literally.
Day weekend. Yeah, it was. So yeah, I now have so much wood. I don't even know what to do with it all. So if you want any wood, I got a lot of wood for you.
Thank you so much. I'm good.
All you want. Literally all you ever use in your life. I have wood. But yeah, so that's cool. So that's all taken care of. So, yep, that's about it for me.
Fantastic.
Yep.
I'm so glad you hit your 100 hours. That's amazing.
Well, and then I hit it, and so I was like, I was tired, so I took a couple days off, and I was like, do I still keep track of my time? Because I've been tracking it for like 5 months now.
Nah.
Well, I've just kept doing it. Because that was the thing, is like, when I hit this goal, am I going to like lose steam on it and be like, well, now I don't have anything to work towards? But like, I think I've done it long enough where it's like, it's become kind of a habit. So now it's like in the evening after we finish dinner, everybody's kind of chilling for like 30, 40 minutes. And I'm like, I'm going to go play saxophone. And I have enough music now where it's like, I'm not playing the same thing every day. So I can just kind of cycle it in and out. And I'm like, I'm really just playing it because I enjoy it.
Well, you might come up with a goal later, and you will have already started keeping track of that if you do want to establish another goal.
I don't know if I'll keep tracking it. It's not hard. Like, I'm literally just typing in numbers to a spreadsheet. But I don't know. I was like, well, I've already been tracking it this far. I might as well just keep going. So we'll see what happens when I do the berry. Am I going to track it separately, or am I going to track it at all? I don't know. We're going with the flow. But either way, it's fun.
Is it going to be gold or silver?
It's going to be gold.
Nice.
Yeah. I would like to have a more interesting, because it's just like,
I don't even know which one's more common.
Standard sax color. Well, it's made out of brass, so it looks brass colored.
Oh, okay.
But they have some cool ones that are like black with silver keys. And,
Whoa, what?
Really interesting. And they have ones that are like satin colored and ones that are like antiqued, and they look really interesting, but those ones are really expensive. And I went for a much more reasonably priced version. So anyway, I'll let y'all know when I get it and how it works. Hopefully next week I'll have something to say about it.
That's exciting.
But I don't know. It hasn't shipped yet, so we'll see. All right. That's it for this week. We'll do a wrap up real quick, and then I do have a random fun fact. So we'll do that. All right. Thank you all for watching. Please leave us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing in the show here. Ask us questions so that we have more to answer. Check out gouletpens.com for fountain pen, ink, paper, all that good stuff. And I have a truly random fact. I didn't pull from anything that we talked about here.
That's as random as it gets.
Yes. So on Earth, when you're eating, excess gas moves to the top of your stomach and it's released through your mouth, which is known as a belch.
I've done that before.
Yeah. However, in space, the lack of gravity causes the food, liquids, and gas to combine and all stay mixed together. So therefore, is it impossible to burp in space?
So does everybody just like float around bloated?
I don't know. I think it just all stays mixed in. I genuinely don't know.
Huh.
But apparently there's no burping in space.
Doesn't it have to go somewhere? Or maybe it doesn't. No. Okay, well.
I haven't personally known anybody in space, but that's what I read.
Interesting.
I did not verify through a deeper source. It was through an interesting facts roundup, But anyway, I just thought that was interesting.
All right, yeah.
Yeah,
it certainly is.
Burping in space, not a thing.
Okay. Did you hear that the T-Rex might be 3 separate dinosaurs all stuck together?
I have heard something about that.
Yeah, I'm nervous about that.
Why?
I don't know. I just don't like that. I like the T-Rex being the T-Rex. If they say it's not a T-Rex, then they're going to have to call it something else, and it'll be different. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know.
It's just like it's the Brontosaurus all over again.
Is that another thing?
I don't remember. I think it was like, no, it's not a thing. It was this stuck to this.
Yeah, it was like the same kind of thing.
But then they say, like, okay, no, it is a thing, but it's not the thing you thought it was. I don't know.
Pluto's not a planet.
I know, Kali. What are you doing to me?
What did we even go to school for? All right. Anyway, hope y'all enjoyed this. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching, and